Good morning, everyone. Just to let you know that we are experiencing technical problems on Jansi's side. Jansi is the Executive Director of the National Science and Technology Forum, as you all might know. Remember her from the tour last year and the awards gala event. But just to say that Jansi will try to connect via her phone. There's been load shedding in her area and it seems like it interfered with her connection. So look out for Jansi joining us later. In the meantime, I am going to hand over to Itumeleng Ndlovu, who has been arranging this program, the speakers and students. Rafilwe, can you mute yourself? Excuse me, sorry. Can everyone make sure that you are muted except for the speaker? Itu, can I hand over to you to introduce our first speaker? Are you in the house, Itu? No? Then let me do that. I will post you a link in the chat to the program for the day. And first up to speak is Dr. Gillian Arendse. Gillian is the Master of Ceremonies of the NSTF Awards, the long-standing MC of the awards. He's also the Manager of Communication and Stakeholder Relations at Itemba Labs and have been participating in the Brilliants program as a motivational speaker for many, many years. Gillian, we're really honored to welcome you back this year to talk. And without further ado, I'd like to hand over to you for the first presentation. Thank you, Gillian.
Morning, morning. Did you just mention my name? Sorry, I was not at my desk.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Gillian Arendse. Sorry, Gillian, we're experiencing lots of technical problems. Jansi is going to try to join on her phone, and I couldn't get Itu onto the Zoom also to talk. Okay. So you are first up on the program,
right?
And so I'm handing over to you. Thank you, Gillian.
All right, thank you. Let me just quickly see if I can share my screen. Hopefully there. Is it up?
Yes, can see that clearly. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Wilna. Thanks for the intro and also for the invitation. And good morning to all you youngsters. I'm going to refer to you as young. That makes me feel a little bit younger as well. All right, so just before I run through this little presentation, I decided to call it or title it "Every Professional Was Once an Amateur." Just to see that you are there, could you maybe just in the chat quickly tell me what is top of mind? Well, what are the things that are keeping you up at the moment? Take what you're thinking and what you're feeling and just give that to me in the chat quickly, just as one word. I just want to know where your head is on this Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Right, so in the chat, just quickly, just pop whatever it is that's keeping you up at night. What is occupying your headspace? What are the things that you are thinking about most? I just want to get the sense of what is the energy in the room, because obviously when we are online, it's a completely different world, right? And will not please shout if I'm not audible at some stage or if something goes wrong. Ramotlo talks about money. I don't know, do you have too much or not enough? I'm not sure, but money keeps you up, right? It's good. I mean, if you do not sleep on the money, but if you put it under the bed, maybe that will be a little bit more comfortable. But money seems to be an issue. But please, for the rest of you guys, please just chat with me. I just want to get a sense of where you are and at least know that you guys are in the room. All right, so I'm going to run through a quick, short presentation, and really it is just me reflecting on a little bit of my own journey, but also just, allowing you to think through some of the things that you might be going through at the moment, things that you are wondering about as you are on this new road in terms of getting to your destination, whatever that might be, and getting to your best. So I think we all agree that in life we constantly go through these jumps, right? We are starting off in a world that we know, and then we have to go from the world that is known in terms of comfortable, and then we have to jump into a world where we've never been. And I think you guys have now transitioned from high school, obviously, into higher education. And the important thing is that whenever we do these jumps in life, the difference between the world that we knew and the one that we are stepping into as we enter a new year, this gap is always Christmas, right? So over Christmas, you have all this magic happens where we have to transition, where we have to almost grow up. And you are going from the state of being a school learner, and you're now transitioning into becoming a student. And before you know it, you will be at the end of that journey. And then suddenly you have to transition into a new world where you function as a professional. And it's this continuous jump. But I think it's important to understand that as we journey through life, every professional was once an amateur, right? And as you spend time with us older people, hopefully as we share our story, maybe there's some inspiration that you can draw from and the kind of things that might keep you going. So I don't know about you, but often when I'm a little bit confused and when I don't know what to do, I go to the World Wide Web, www. So I just quickly want to share with you in a couple of minutes my www and the three things that I think are crucial in terms of us journeying through life. I think the first thing that we need to just always remind ourselves of is this question or the statement that we should never lose sight of who we are, right? We should keep and stay connected with who we are from where we come from, our roots, our anchors, because I think we are all like icebergs. And when an iceberg floats in the ocean, 10% is visible, but 90% is invisible. And obviously, as we journey through life, our job is to try and make sure that our 90% and our 10% speak the same language, so that what people see is really the representation of the truest and the realist, if there is such a word, me, right? And I think it's important for us to be grounded, because I think sometimes when we transition from school into university, we focus so much on conforming that we lose sight of the opportunity to be transformed, to become new. Because every day we wake up and we measure ourselves against other people, and then in our attempts to become like them, we lose sight of who we are and where we come from. So really important for you to discover your own identity and for you to stay true to that. The second W, I think, is what you guys are devoting time and energy to now, is this focus on what you become, right? It is journeying through life with a focus on mastery, understanding that it's a mindset, understanding that it comes with pain, and there's lots of rejection, there's lots of failure or feedback that we get that will tell us that we're not quite on the right track. But it's also a journey of mastery that speaks to the fact that it's asymptotic. You want to become better, but you realize that you never get there. And that is the kind of inspiration that keeps you going. So I myself have got a PhD in experimental nuclear physics, of course, PhD short for pass high school with difficulty. But I journeyed like you guys through university, got my first degree, then a second, then a third, and then a fourth. It took me 8 years in total. But today I'm based at a research facility in Temba Labs, which is a research facility for nuclear physics and applications. But I'm no longer in the pure science. I've actually transitioned into a more communication and stakeholder engagement role, trying to figure out how we bridge the gap between the people who think they know and the people who think that they are not good enough to know, right? So it's getting that communication and becoming that conduit through which information can flow. So really it's about connecting with what you become. It's understanding your strengths, understanding your gifting, understanding the things that give you energy. And those are the things that you keep on working as you journey forward. And then the third W, I think, is probably the most important one. And that is to be aware of who you are becoming as you are journeying through this new phase of your life. I'm Gillian, and that's how you spell my name. And I've decided that if I take each letter of my name, I am able to introduce myself to people by telling them who I am. So I'm Gillian. I'm a gifted individual who loves to learn, inspire, affirm, and nurture. And some of you might look at me and say, wow, you're a bit arrogant calling yourself gifted. But again, if I don't know who I am, how do I expect other people to know who I am? And talking about the sense of being able to love yourself. If you are unable to spend time with yourself, don't be upset if other people don't want to spend time with you. So it's really important for you to not lose sight of who you are, to continue to work hard at what you become, that profession where you take what you're good at and what you will be paid for. But it's also about figuring out who you are becoming. What are your strengths? What are your passions? And how do you fit that into your journey as you move forward? So a guy with the name of Roy Disney said, when your values are clear, making decisions become easier. And it's important for you to understand what are your highest priorities. So to the person who said that money is important, if that is your highest value, then obviously that would necessitate saving being key, right? But if you want money and you can't walk past a shop that offers a sale, then you've got a problem, because saving should be your highest priority if money is what you're chasing after, right? So it's important to know what these values are and what these priorities are. So as you journey, just some last advice from my side. Every expert was once a beginner. And as we journey through life, we obviously want to hit as many green lights as possible. But we sometimes also need to stop at the red. And sometimes we need to think carefully when we get to the amber. So maybe as we journey forth, it's time for you to think about what are some of the things that you might want to stop doing in the new year as you enter this new phase of your life. Maybe some of you have become accustomed to thinking of yourself as a victim. And because you are a victim, you accuse, you blame, and you complain. But maybe you need to stop doing that. Maybe you need to tap into your attitude, tap into your belief, and understand that you always have choices. And maybe that is what you need to do as you journey forward. Maybe you need to stop buying into the notion of mediocrity. And maybe you need to guard against the 7 sins. So I'm just going to quickly share those with you. And these are 7 things that you should try not to do. Because if you do this, you settle for mediocre, and mediocre in Latin means halfway up the mountain. So the first sin is the letter A, which is a reminder that you should never be aimless, right? People say that if you follow the crowd, you're going to get to the exit. But maybe that is not where you want to be. So you need to know, what is your goal? What is the thing that gets you up in the morning? What is the thing that you are chasing? What is your aim in life? The second thing for you to never be is be bored. I think we live in a world where technology is a major disruptor. We've seen what, for instance, drones have done to agriculture. And we understand that technology has changed the way in which we operate. There are certain jobs now that in principle are replaced through automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning. So there's no room for us to be bored, right? We have to continuously push to become better on a daily basis. The third sin is never to be comfortable. People say that a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. Maybe you find yourself today where you still talk about the things that you did yesterday, and you kind of believe that things just happen because you are that good. I need to warn you that you should not be comfortable. The fourth sin, the letter D, is a reminder that you should not be delusional. I don't want you to go to idols and stand in front of Randall and say, Randall, my mother told me I could sing. And then you discover that you cannot. So don't believe the untruths, right? It's your job to not just figure out what are the things that you can do, but also to figure out what are the things that you cannot do. Remember, it's important for you to know what your strengths are. And please understand that there's a difference between a strength and performance. Performance is what you're good at, but that is not necessarily the thing that gives you energy. The next sin after delusion is the letter E, which speaks to ego, right? Don't let your head get too big. We know that our brains are powerful things. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, you are absolutely right. So the mind is a powerful tool, but you need to be mindful of how you use this tool. Then, fear, F. Don't let fear hold you back. People say fear is short for false evidence appearing real, but you have 2 options. You can face everything and rise, or you can forget everything and run away. Right? I don't know if you saw the movie Coach Carter, but in the movie, there's the question that's being asked: what is your biggest fear? And the response coming from one of the players is that my biggest fear is not that I'm inadequate. My biggest fear is that I am powerful beyond measure. It's the light within me, not the darkness that frightens me most. So you have to run towards the things that scare you. And as you do your best work and you start shining, you actually give other people permission to do exactly the same. And then the last sin, the letter G, is for you never to become guarded. Malcolm X said, if we can figure out how to replace I with we, then even illness becomes wellness. But this can only happen if we are able to foster relationships, if we are able to break down the barriers that prevent us from interacting. Remember, we say that our biggest strength sits in our diversity, but often we struggle to tap into that diversity because we are unable to build relationships with people who might look different or sound different to what we call our own norm. So those are 7 things that I think you should maybe think of stopping as you enter the year 2023. But maybe there are some things that you also want to start. A guy with the name of Ruben Alf said, hope is when you can hear the melody of the future. Faith is when you dance to that melody. So the question really is, what is your hope? What is the thing that you call aspirational? What is this vision that inspires you? This vision that is so big that it pulls you forward. And maybe you need to start investing some time into that thinking. Often we journey through life and it is as if we are working on our coat. And the coat, in a sense, is an indication of how marketable you are. But ultimately, it's not just about whether you are marketable, whether you get invited to the interview. It is actually whether you are employable, right? And your employability sits not on the outside of the coat, but your employability sits on the inside. So the question is, what are some of those internal things, those maybe leadership traits that you need to develop this year in order for you to become not just marketable, but actually employable? And then thirdly, we don't just have to stop things. We don't just have to start doing things, but we have to continue doing things. And I encourage you to continuously plot your life, in a sense, to look at all the events in your life. Some of them would have positive impacts and others would have negative impacts. And often some of these moments are linked to decisions that we took. And depending on the decision and how it panned out, the impact is either positive or negative. But sometimes the negative things are also linked to life. The fact that bad things sometimes happen to good people. But I think if we continuously plot and reflect on our experiences, there are opportunities for us to grow and opportunities for us to become better as we step into the next level of reality. So to wrap up, ladies and gents, I think it's important for you to work on your WWW. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget to work on what you become, but also pay attention to who you are becoming. Reflect on your life journey, celebrate when things go well, but also reflect on the times when things go bad and understand the importance of not repeating the same mistakes, but learning from them to move forward. Mr. Towser said, refuse to be average. And often we become average when we compare ourselves to others. Your job is not to compare yourself to others. Your job is to compare yourself to yourself and check whether you are becoming better as a human being. So thank you for allowing me into your headspace this morning. I wish you guys well as you journey forth, and I wish you a wonderful morning as more people share some of their stories with you. Well, now, thank you for the opportunity, and I will hand it back to you.
Thank you very, very much, Gillian. As always, a superb talk, very motivational and inspiring. And yes, fantastic messages that came out there. For me, what stood out is as you shine, you give others the opportunity to shine. And that's a way of paying forward. Refusing also to be average and not to compare ourselves to others. It's so important, sometimes very difficult to learn, but it can be done. So yes, wonderful to hear that. Thank you, Gillian. We've got 10 minutes available for the students to perhaps pose questions to Gillian, interact with him, and just hear back from you. What did you think? And yes, welcome back, Jansie, our Executive Director.
Hi. The Executive Director is also subject to load shedding at awkward moments.
Yes.
So good to see you, Gillian, Vilna, and everyone.
Jansie, I don't know when you've joined. Would you like to take over now, or I've given the floor 10 minutes to interact with Gillian.
Yes, no, I can take over. I'm still relying on you if I fall off,
Yes.
but I should be stable now.
Right.
Welcome to all of you students. It's good to see your names on the screen. I'm hoping to get a glimpse of you later on. And very glad that you've joined us this morning and that you've listened to Gillian. Now, you've noticed that Gillian's presentation was extremely brief. He went through it very quickly, but it packs a punch. And his presentation will be available on the website, I hope. Gillian?
Yeah, I'll send the PDF through to Meg.
Okay. Thank you. So you can go back and have a look at it to remember, because I think there's a lot to think about there and to inspire yourself. Maybe you should just have a look at it every morning before you start off your day, and after your sleepless night, because Gillian asked you what kept you awake. We had one person saying the money keeps him awake.
Mm-hmm.
But Gaugelu says it's the generators in the area that keep her awake. Yeah, I would love to know what keeps other people awake. You know, do your studies actually keep you awake? I would really like to know that one.
Yeah, but I think if the generators are keeping you awake, then at least you know that your ears are still working. So that is maybe something to be grateful for. Could be that that specific generator that's annoying you is the one that's keeping somebody else alive, because maybe, I don't know, that's used to charge a defibrillator. But I think sometimes, you know, we're so focused on our own realities. You know, if you drive on the freeway and there's an ambulance behind you, then by default you get out of the way and allow the ambulance through. But if you drive on the freeway and there's somebody behind you with hazards flickering, you probably will not get out of the way.
Yeah.
But if you knew that somebody in that car was in real danger or had an emergency, maybe your action is different. But yeah, I think we sometimes think about our own realities. We forget to step back and ask, is there more to this? Is there something that I can? But yeah, students, I don't know if there are any questions. I don't want to hog the space. But if there's somebody with a question or even just a comment, you can also tell me that I'm useless. I tend to put myself in black and white because I think I look better in black and white. I don't know if that works. Yeah, any questions or any comments? Hopefully you didn't log onto this Zoom call and then went for a jog or shower. But hopefully you are really there. So any comments, any questions?
Okay. I'm wondering, because we have a little bit of time at the moment, can we have a round of introductions? Very quickly, you guys have met each other, but it's been some time. It's been more than 6 months, 7 months, 6 months. No, it's been a long time. So you might not have had contact with each other and might not remember who the other people are. So, can we start? Itu. Can you start, please?
Morning, everyone. It's good to see the students once again. I'm just happy to be here. Please mind my PC. It's reacting, so I'll switch off. I'll switch off my video. Sorry about that. I'm happy to be here to hear the inspiring words that our speakers have for us. I hope the students will take some of the inspiring words. I'm just happy to be here today. I hope all of us are happy to be here. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Itu. Totliso.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Fine, thanks.
Thanks.
Just tell everybody what your name and surname are and where you're studying, so we can remember.
My name is Mufkin Totliso, and I'm studying at UCT. I'm studying mechanical engineering.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mboyiso, Mbuyisa, sorry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mbuisa Pila. I'm a medical student at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you.
Welcome, good to see you. It's an interesting profile picture you've got. Delisha.
Hi everyone, I am Davana Delisha and I am studying electrical and computer engineering at the University of Cape Town.
Great, good to have you here. Let's see, Tichochi.
Hi everyone. My name is Dichochi Ramutlo, and in my free time, I'm studying mechatronics engineering at University of Cape Town.
In your free time?
Yes, yes.
What are you doing what are you doing in your non-free time?
Reading a bunch of books. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. No, that sounds great. Sehli.
Hi, I'm Professor Selon Lowood. Work at Wits University, and I've been asked to give a talk today, so I'm happy to be here.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. Welcome, Prof.
Fine, thank you.
Very welcome. Lunati. Lunati, are you there? Looking for the unmute button. Okay, let's move on to Anele.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Anele Nguni, and I'm doing medicine at UKZN.
Welcome, Anele. Good to have you here. Glassen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Glassen Osborne. I'm studying data engineering at Stellenbosch University.
Hi, Glassen. Good to see you. To hear you, rather. We're hearing all of you.
Yeah.
Banele. Vanele, are you there? Connecting to audio. Vanele, Butelezi, are you there? No, we can't hear you. Have I missed anyone? Any students? Where are you?
Hello.
Hey, Kamukhelu.
Yes, greetings everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm fine, thanks.
My name is Kamakolo Simbani, and I am an engineering student at the University of Wits.
University of Wits.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, Kamukhelu.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other students? Who have I missed? I think that's everybody. Okay. I think we must go on to our next speaker. And actually, she introduced herself. Professor Sihleselu Ndlovu, Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, and Sarchi Chair for Hydrometallurgy and Sustainable Development. She won the Engineering Research Capacity Development Award. So she's the current award winner. And she's talking to us today about the power of a winning mindset. Professor Ndlovu.
Thank you. Thank you, Anse. And I hope you can see my presentation online.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I can see it. Ilna is also posting your biography in the chat. So
okay.
Please have a look at that, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Sehliselo. Most people call me Selo because they find it a bit difficult to pronounce my full name. So they call me Selo, and I'm a professor at the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment at the University of the Witwatersrand. I want to first start by thanking the NSTF for giving me this opportunity to talk to the students on the Brilliant Students Program. I really feel very privileged to be talking to brilliant minds because they are the future of our country and our society. So it's really a pleasure for me to be here. My video on. Okay. I'm working from home today because of the load shedding. So please just bear with me if you hear any noise in the background. So I want to talk about the power of a winning mindset, and it's most people. I think if we look at what Julian was talking about, you find that this presentation actually really follows on what he was talking about. The fact that the mind is a powerful thing, and you can actually train it to work for you. So one simple and effective way to achieve success is to have that mindset of being a winner. And you find that this type of mindset is the difference between being a champion or a successful person and those other people that will also be running in the same race with you. So maybe what we need to do first, we need to try and understand what is a winning mindset. Maybe some of you have never really come across this word. What does it mean to have a winning mindset? So according to the Oxford definition, a winner is a person or a team or an animal that wins something. It can also be considered as a thing or a person that is successful or likely to be successful. Then we look also at a mindset. What is a mindset? So what have I done now? I'm trying to move. I've got this bar, So I'm trying to move it out of the way so that I can see what I'm saying. Yeah, okay. So we've got the mindset. So in time, when you look at the mindset, then there are two types of mindset. We have what we call the fixed mindset and then the growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is the one that tends to believe that your natural abilities are fixed and cannot be developed just by working hard, listening to advice or from other people. And then we've got the growth mindset, the belief that you can develop your natural abilities by working hard, listening to advice, and also advice that you get given by other people. So you find that then the winning mindset tends to come from the growth mindset. So it's when we talk about pushing our boundaries. And when we really look at it, we all know that we've got natural abilities. We can all talk, we can all run, we can all jump, we can all throw. That is those abilities that we were born with. All of us can do those things. But then what separates us from those people that succeed through their abilities from some of us who do not succeed through those abilities? If I maybe just allow you to think about those people that you know or are aware of that are called the greatest of all times, those people that have made a mark in their fields of expertise. For example, you can think about Usain Bolt. Then the question would be, what made Usain Bolt the fastest runner in the world? What made him run faster than anyone else? Then you can maybe think of Serena Williams. We know that she has won a lot of tennis Grand Slams, but what made her become that winner that she is today? So it's that mindset that they have that separates them from the natural person with their own natural abilities. And then they've gone further with those natural abilities to become those greatest people that we know today. So it is the input and the effort that they've made and their self-belief that they possess that makes them go further than everybody else. So the belief that they can do more, that their abilities are not limited but can be stretched, that they can push boundaries with their abilities. That is what separates them from us. That is what makes them the greatest of all time, as we call them the goats. I think that's what that's the term that is generally used. So the winning mindset, we are saying basically that it is all in the mind. It is the mindset that is possessed by winners or champions, those who achieve success in what they set to do. It is the mindset of those that push with the resilience and undaunted against all odds to achieve their goals. But what we actually are seeing is that we are saying that we are all born with abilities. But a winning mindset isn't something that you are born with. It is something that you have to develop so that you can push your abilities further than everybody else and become a winner. It is that belief that you can do it. So basically we're saying that it is not just about talent. You can possess the talent, but if you don't do anything about that talent, you are not going to become a success. So, but if you put more hours of practice, more focus and sacrifice on that talent, then you can become a success. For example, I used to dream about running a marathon. A few years ago, then I decided to start running, to do road running. It was very hard in the beginning. I could hardly run a kilometer before running out of breath and stopping. A hill was just something that I just looked at, and I used to feel very afraid every time I looked at a hill. But then I got to a point where I started to run. I could run 2 kilometers, and I was able to tackle 5 kilometers, then 10 kilometers. But after that, it became very difficult to move to a higher distance. So I decided to supplement my running with going to the gym. I started going to the gym to build more strength. But some days I would walk into the gym and I would just feel so tired. It was like my body was rebelling against what I wanted to do. So sometimes you find that sometimes you want to do something and your body tells you all kinds of stories. I would walk into the gym. I would leave my house feeling okay. I would walk into the gym, my feet would start getting painful, my knees would start trembling. I would just feel all pain all over my body. And it was just a way of my mind, playing havoc over me. But the moment I started training on the machines, that pain would disappear and I would enjoy it. Soon I was running from 10, I was running about 12 kilometers. But I couldn't go past that 12 kilometers. So I decided, let me join a running club. So I joined a running club. And in the running club, I met a running partner who motivated me and who started to tell me that, you know, overcoming some of these plateaus in running is all about the mind. It's in your mind. You think you cannot go over it, but you can. So we used to run together, and very soon I was running 18 kilometers. Then I could run a half a marathon. And by the end of the year, I could run a full marathon. So my family, no one in my family can run. No one can run a marathon. I wasn't born a runner, but at the end of the day, I could run a marathon. So basically, what I'm trying to say that mind is everything. What we think we can be, we can become that person that we think we can become. So just to also to reiterate that not all people are born great. So we're saying that people are not great. People are not born, but they are made. So if we look at an example of Albert Einstein, so Albert Einstein was a German-born theoretical physicist. He is very widely acknowledged for of the greatest and most influential physicist of all time. Albert is also best known not only for developing the theory of relativity, but he also made contributions to the development of the theory of quantum mechanics. But yet his teacher called him academically challenged. Then we've got also Walt Disney, who was a pioneer of the American animation industry. He introduced the developments in the production of cartoons, and he won a lot of Academy Awards. He won about 22 Oscars from 59 nominations. But in the early years, he was told that he lacked creative imagination. Then we also know about Rudyard Kipling, the author. He was once told that he just didn't know how to use the English language, yet he wrote one of the greatest books that we all know about, The Jungle Book. Then we've got Michael Jordan. Of course, you know, everybody knows Michael Jordan, the basketball player. His coach said that he wasn't more talented than other people. So he didn't really have that talent, but what made him become the greatest basketball player that we know today? And also there are other examples also in history. We have got Leo Tolstoy, the author of War and Peace, and Anna Karenina. He also dropped out of college. He was described as both unable and unwilling to learn, but we know that he wrote two of the most greatest books in literature. Then we've also Charles Darwin, the father of scientific evolution. He was also considered by his father to be too lazy and too dreaming, but all these people became great. And it wasn't just from their talent, it was because they dreamed of higher things and they made sure that they worked hard for what they wanted to become. So in terms of what we are trying to say, what I'm trying to say here is that a winning mindset or becoming successful, it's not only about your talent, but it is about what you believe you can become. It is what you give power to that will have power over you. It is something that you can train to become. You are not born a success. We are never born success. All the people that we know about who have been successful in their lives, they were not born that way. A president was not born a president. Roger Federer was not born a greatest tennis player in the world, but now we know him as one of the greatest tennis players in the world. So there are steps that you can take to develop that winning mindset so that you become one of the successful and the greatest people in the world. So I'm just going to share quickly a few things that I think there's quite a lot of things that you can do, but I'm just going to share a few things. So one of the first things is to have vision. I think Dr. Gillian also mentioned this already, that you must know what you want to do. You must know what you want to achieve. What do you see in your future? What does success look like to your future? So if you don't have a destination, it's very difficult for you to plan the proper route. It's also difficult for you to put up the support structures that will make you get to where you want to get. So a true champion has an idea of the finishing line and also holds a mapped out game plan that keeps him motivated to reach the finishing line. So most of you, of course, we are now at university. You have gotten through the university gates. You have chosen your career. Some of you I heard some of you are data scientists. Some of you are, some of you are doing computer software engineering. Maybe some of you are doing, you want to be a microbiologist or different kinds of career pathways. But also you must know what kind of an engineer or what kind of a doctor or what type of a data scientist do you want to be? Do you just want to do your job, or do you want to make a mark in the world? Do you want to lead in the field? Do you want to be a pioneer? or do you just want to just do your job and just contribute normally? So it is the difference that the difference in terms of what you want to become that is going to help you in terms of mapping your career path. Because if you want to be a pioneer, then it means you need to put more into your work so that you become the pioneer. So also when you know what you are looking for, then it also becomes easier to find it. If you have got a clear direction for your destination, then it becomes easier to use the GPS so that you get to where you are going instead of just traveling blindly. It becomes also easier, like I said, to look for support to get to where you want to go. So I must say that sometimes we might not know where we would want to be, but what is the best thing is that of course is not a crime, but I think at least if you know where you don't want to be, it also can be helpful. And then the other thing that I also want to say is that Dr. Julian, I think he also mentioned this, be curious. So curiosity is the thirst for knowledge, and success happens to those who constantly explore and ask questions like, what is this? How does it work? Why does it work like that? So this mindset forces the pursuit of new ideas and doing new things that puts them on the path to new discoveries. So curiosity is really critical to your success because it is the strong desire to learn without constraint. It is the driving force behind new discoveries in all fields, not just technology and science. So a winning mindset does not place artificial limits to its vision and goals. It uses curiosity to build imagination that can be a gateway to success. So being curious is really a massive part of success. Then the other thing, which I also was very excited to see Dr. Gillian also share with you, is he said that do not be in the comfort zone. So I just want also to say here that one of the ways to developing a winning mindset is to seek discomfort. So if you look at this picture, it shows you that, you know, when you are growing, you actually need to move. For you to grow, you need to move away from the comfort zone. And feeling uncomfortable is the key to success. Discomfort is usually the catalyst to growth. So the challenge for you is to get past that initial feeling of wanting to return to your comfort zone, because we all tend to want to stay in our comfort zone. So when you are challenged, you are asked to become more than you were, and that means creating new perspectives, acquiring new skills, and pushing boundaries. But what the picture also shows is that for you to get out of your comfort zone, you need to pass through the fear zone. So if you want to go into the growth zone, you need to move from the comfort zone, but you have to pass through the fear zone. So my father once told me actually that the biggest enemy in our growth is fear. He said, when you walk into a new situation or a new room or a new environment, the first person to greet you, he didn't say the first thing, he said the first person to greet you is fear. And he said to me, when that fear greets you, you shouldn't ignore it, acknowledge the fear. Greet it, give it a friendly note, and continue on your path. Be aware that fear is there. So he said to me, courage is knowing that the fear is there, but going forward in spite of fear. So like what I'm also saying is that when you want to grow, seek discomfort. Do not stay in the comfort zone, because if you stay in the comfort zone, you are never going to grow. Then the other thing is commit. So if you want to be successful, you must commit. Are you committed to reaching your goals? Are you prepared to sacrifice, to suffer pain in pursuit of your success? Are you willing to stay focused in the face of obstacles? We always hear the fact that pain plus sacrifice is equal to success. So if you look, for example, at the Williams sisters, well, I know that I'm giving a lot of examples of tennis because I love tennis. So if you look at the Williams sisters and the mark that they've made on the tennis circuit, their story is really a big inspiration to most of us. They put so much work into training. If you have watched the movie that was made about them, King Richard, so they put so much work into training. They sacrificed a lot. Some might even say they sacrificed part of their youth to be able to train and be able to get to where they are. So they committed to playing tennis, hitting the ball day in and out, and the rest we know is history. So you hear sometimes people say there is no gain without pain. So pain plus sacrifice is equals to history, to success. So my question is, if you are going to be working in your university, you are charting your career pathway, are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to spend the night, for example, in the library, sleeping in the lab, forgoing holidays with your family and friends, forget about a night out with your family and friends, just to focus on your career path, to focus on that finishing line, on that destination that you have chosen, so that you can actually get to where you are going. So sacrifice and pain is part of achieving that path success. Then the other thing is perseverance. So the question again is, will you persevere even when you feel like giving up? I know that's since you are in the Brilliance Minds program, is that it means that you are brilliant. And I take it that most of you might not even have experienced failure in tests or exams in the past. But you must be prepared that somewhere along the line, you are going to face failure one day. But what we must know then is, what do you do when you face that failure? What do you do? How do you respond to failure is also another way of, becoming a defining way. It defines the difference between somebody who is a winner and somebody who will not win. If you look at Michael Jordan is, as I said, is one of the biggest or the greatest basketball players in the world. But he says he has failed over and over in his life. He says, I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. So it is what you do when you fail that is actually going to make a difference between that success in your life or not. So when you start your university studies, I said, when you are in your university studies, I said, do not fear failure. It is part of developing that resilience and fortitude that builds a successful person. People who can truly be called winners don't just get luck. They don't just succeed one time. Winners view success as a marathon, not a sprint. They know that they are going to face difficulties along the way, but they continue despite the difficulties that they face. They are never, even when the world is saying that you cannot do this, or people are saying you cannot do this, they persevere. They keep saying yes to themselves, even when others tell them no. And this is because of this mindset that winning becomes a habit, a pattern, and a reputation. Then the last thing that I want to share is responsibility. So you must also be responsible. Successful person know that they are responsible for their life. No matter their starting point, weaknesses, and past failures, the responsibilities is within them. So if they know that it all starts and stops with them. So at university, you are obviously considered an adult, and the only person that is responsible for you is basically you. So you have to show up for lectures, show up with your assignments, show up with your tests. You need also to know yourself, assess your own strengths and weaknesses, and take the necessary steps to improve. You must also own your life. No one else will own your life. I know that this can be very frightening, because sometimes when we were younger, there was somebody who was always responsible for us. But now for us to actually make a success, you realize that the only person who's going to be responsible for your success is not anybody else, but you. You are the one who's going to write that equation. That is the equation of your life, no one else. So I just want to conclude by saying, when you adopt the mindset of a winner, you adopt a lifestyle. It is not a fad. It is not something that you can start and stop. Once you are into it, and you start to see benefits to that. Also, being naturally smart does not automatically equate to success. We are all born with abilities, but those abilities can only take us to a point. So success goes hand in hand with abilities, the pain and sacrifice, and the right mindset. It is only through having a positive and a winning mindset that you will stand out. And when you become the only one wearing a red shirt among the ones wearing a white one, then you know that competition has become irrelevant and you have arrived. So I want to finish my talk by saying, guts plus grit. That's what you must remember. Guts plus grit is equals to glory. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ndlovu. That was very inspiring. Thank you. You are not only pushed yourself to be a marathon runner, but you are determined and focused, and you can give advice from your own experience. Thank you so very much. And of course, you are a winner in in your work. So you are not only focusing on building yourself, building your fitness and your ability, your body's ability to perform, but for your mind as well and your other actions. You're truly an inspiration. Thank you so very much. We've got some time for questions. Any questions? Prof, can you just tell us what you won the award for?
Oh, that's engineering capacity research development. So my award was based on the input that I've made to developing researchers and young professionals in the area of engineering. So one of the things actually that I live through is that my mantra that I've lived through is that a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. It means that, you know, when you share what you know, you will not lose anything. But in fact, the more you share light, the more you bring light to others and also to the world. So imagine if you are lighting one candle and you light one candle and the other candle lights another candle, you keep lighting candles, you actually have got more light. So that is my belief. That's why I train a lot of students in my field so that they can go out and do much more in terms of developing the country in terms of metals and also in terms of technological developments, because, you know, metals are the cornerstone of any technological development. So that is my field.
Fantastic. That is so interesting. There's one hand. No, there's applause. Thank you. So what advice do you give to engineering students?
Well, people always say engineering is difficult. I don't dispute that. It is difficult because it trains you to think in a different ways. That's why engineers are mostly different from other people. They can see things in different ways. They approach things in a different way. They are logical, and they can definitely come up with solutions in a very easier and quicker time. Not that I'm saying anything against other professions, but that is what you are trained to be. So my advice is, when you do your engineering, you must enjoy it. You know, you must immerse yourself in anything that you do. And even if you start working onto something that you maybe don't even like, or maybe a course that you are doing and it's not something that you are liking, pretend to like it in the beginning, and in the end you'll find that you like it. So it is not an easy program or a degree program. That is very true. But if you love it and you are more enthusiastic about it, you find that it actually becomes much easier. And the best thing about it is that you are really going to make an impact on the society in the end. And that's what engineers do.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being a role model for engineers. There was a time when there were no women engineers at all. And it's fortunately, there are a few now. I mean, I think you're still in the minority in the engineering field.
That's very true. I think last time when they did a survey, I can't remember, maybe it was 2018, there were about 12%. I think there are about 12% engineering women. So that's still a bit few, and it's worse actually in the mining sector where I am. So yeah. But things are changing. We've got more women that have got guts and grit, like I said, coming in, especially the younger ones. We are seeing more of them coming through. So I think in the next few years, the statistics are going to change, definitely.
Fantastic. Oh, that is so hopeful. Muimalele, who's one Matangwa, who's our speaker later on, says Prof. Ndlovu was actually my lecturer at Wits.
Really?
Yes, Muimalele.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. And we're also good friends. Hi, Prof.
Yes. I remember your face now. Yes, that's very true. Oh, it's nice to see. It's nice to see you. Yeah.
No, nice to see you too, Prof.
And there is evidence of the impact that you have on young people, I think.
Yeah, it's very gratifying.
It's just wonderful that you are living in a way that empowers others, because we have such a huge task in South Africa of empowering young people to be able to go forward and not just make a decent living, but to be able to build up the country, restore the country, build it up, make it a competitive party in the world.
That's very true. And I think sometimes we do get despondent, especially when we see what is happening around the world and what is happening in our country. But I think the what keeps us going is the young people, you know, the hope that they will make a difference in the future. They will see what we've done wrong and they will correct it. But of course, also we need to empower them so that they think the right way, and they also see the right and the wrong way of doing things. So hopefully, you know, that keeps us going, that there's light through our future leaders.
Yes. Prof, thank you very much indeed for your talk today, for taking the time to be with us. We know you are extremely busy, and yes, I want to say keep up the good work, but already you have done such an enormous amount, and I'm just feeling very inspired. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yancy, and thank you for inviting me, and I wish everybody the best for the rest of the day. Unfortunately, like you said, I have to go somewhere to another meeting, unfortunately, but it was really great, especially to listen to Gillian in the morning. It was really inspiring. Thank you so much.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Our next speaker is Professor Marianne van der Schuren. She is at the University of Cape Town, Transport and Planning and Engineering, and she holds a research chair co-funded by the Department of Science and Innovation, the National Research Foundation, and CSIR, the Smart Mobility Research Chair. She's in the Department of Civil Engineering at UCT, and she won the Special Annual Theme Award. So she's the current holder of the Special Annual Theme Award of the NSTF-South32 Awards. She is talking to us about From Small Town Girl to the SAICI President and NSTF Award winner. Prof van der Schuren, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. As the previous speaker, I'm stepping out of a meeting that is actually going the whole day to be able to talk to you. So my apologies for not being able to listen to other speakers and interact with you more. I would have loved to. One of my big passions is seeing young people grow and flourish. So my apologies for not being able to interact with you more today. Let me try and share my screen. Where is why is it not showing the presentation?
We see and hear you loud and clear, but it probably is just taking a bit of time to share.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's very strange. Let me try to just share my screen and then go to the presentation and see if that works. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
All right, then let me do it in presentation mode. Thank you. Then this seems to be working. My apologies. I couldn't see clicking on the presentation itself. So good morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here. And what people have said to me over the past year, 2 years, is that they do think that my journey that I have had myself is quite inspiring. So I thought it's probably a good thing to also share with you where I'm from, and what I have achieved so far, as well as what makes me tick, because it's not the presidency. And although I'm very humbled by having won the award, it's not the award, it's actually changing people's life, and that really keeps me ticking over. So I was born in a very small town. You hear from my accent that I'm not originally from South Africa, in a very small town called Kerkrade in the Netherlands. And just to give you an idea, this is the Netherlands. There is this little appendix. I hope that you can see my cursor. There's this little appendix to the Netherlands. And in the very far corner of that little appendix is the town that I'm from. And this town is actually a mining town. So that's where the connection comes with South Africa. It's a mining town. When I was very young, in 69, the last mine closed. So I grew up as a young girl in the 70s with lots of unemployment around me, with drug abuse around me, with people in South Africa that call it comrades. In the Netherlands where I'm from, they're kumpels, two kumpels sitting on a little bench, talking to each other, because their whole working life, they had been together in the mine. They always made sure that they worked in pairs. My grandfather was a paramedic on the mines. So the connection, I mean, my father actually grew up on one of these mines. So the connection to mining in my life is very big. And and I just said, my grandfather was a paramedic, where from my mother's side and my father's side, everybody was in the medical field. My father and myself are the exceptions. My father actually had a driving school. I grew up as a young child, actually washing from about 7 years old, washing his car every single day, because he always said, the car is my business card and it needs to look good. So when it was raining, even over lunch, we quickly gave it a clean together and made sure that his business card was looking good. And that led to us on Sundays, for example, doing crosswords and discussing the transport system around us. And obviously the two of us had many more better designs than what we saw on the road. So these Sunday discussions that I had with my late father now were instrumental in me choosing my career path. Another instrumental moment in my life was the slogan from government, and translated, it's "A clever girl is ready for her future." It's really encouraged females to not shy away from STEM subjects, and that's what I had to do to actually be able to become, in the end, a transport engineer. My school career was also maybe very different than you would expect, and the schooling system in the Netherlands is obviously very different to South Africa. So if I can just try to explain the path that I went through. Obviously, I had some nursing classes and went to elementary school. And at the end of elementary school in the Netherlands, you are tested and you get a kind of advice of what type of high school to go to. And there are different types of high schools. So my advice at the time was, for the sciences, I should have gone to the HAVO, higher secondary education. But my languages weren't so good, and hopefully my language in English today is better than what they established at the end of elementary school. My languages were sitting around intermediate secondary school. At that time, my parents were divorced, and my mother really didn't need having to push me in my school career. So she decided to enroll me in the MAVO. And at the end of that, I enrolled in intermediate vocational education to go into retail. And after your matric, you have quite a long holiday. And at the end of that 3 months holiday, I thought, retail? Why did I choose retail? I don't want to do retail. So I went back to my old school, and they gave me names of the local higher secondary school. And I repeated 1 year and did an additional matric at a higher level that gave me an entry to higher vocational education. And in the end, from that, a while later, and I'll go into details, I went to university and now even have my PhD. So a long route also during my school career. So going back from where I'm from, you know, growing up, and I said, you know, it's a mining town. This is the type of flats that I lived in. The neighbors, as I said, were drug dealers. This is what these flats looked like. I then went to, after my double-stepped high school, went to higher education in Tilburg, where I got my bachelor in science. A while after that, I did work in between. I went to do a bachelor and master's in systems engineering at the University of Delft. And while I was already working in South Africa, I did my PhD at the University of Twente in Enschede, which is on this side of the Netherlands. So what does my life actually look like? Let's go back to I was born. When I was a year, I moved to the flats that I showed you in the previous slide. And in between 1967 and 1972, my mother actually went to the municipality requesting better housing. This is rented housing every single week. And in the end, we moved in 72 to terrace houses, and I started my school career. Fast forwarding to 1989, I graduated with my bachelor in Tilburg. I showed that to you as well. During my high school career, doing the sciences, there were about 25% females in my classes. And that was the same in when I did my degree in Tilburg. I started working straight away at the University of Delft. And I didn't really fit into the department very well there. And one of my previous final year supervisors called me. He had moved to TNO INRO, and TNO is the sister organization of the CSIR, and said, we would like to hire you. We were looking for somebody with more experience than you. We can't fill the post. We like to train you up. And I stayed with the university, with TNO for over 10 years. In 96, I started to do a bachelor and master's in one, and I graduated with that in 99 from the University of Delft. And in 2000, I got the position at UCT that I'm still occupying today, where it was a requirement to do my PhD, which I finally got in 2006. In that period, and being part of South Africa, coming to a new country and having to rebuild my career, for me, it was very important to become a member of the South African Institution of Civil Engineering. In 2008 and 2009, I was the chair of the Western Cape branch. And as mentioned in the title of this talk, last year, I was their president. And I've served them since 2002. It's a voluntary organization, and I'm very proud to be part of it still. When I came to this country, I was informed that becoming a professional engineer is part what needs to be done. And I applied somewhere in 2003 to EXA. EXA said, we don't recognize your international degrees. And even after I got my PhD in 2006, and many people in SAIC and other parts of the industry were arguing, how can you not recognize somebody with a PhD having accumulated enough academic inputs, EXA still said, no, we're not going to recognize you. So as an academic, I always had to make a decision. What is more important to me? Being a true academic, if I can call it that, teaching students and doing research and writing papers? Or do I want my research to be applied? Do I want to co-produce knowledge with society and make a contribution to society? And the latter is what I've always chosen. I have co-produced with the United Nations. I have co-produced with the provinces. I have co-produced with national departments, not only in South Africa, but also in Lesotho, Cameroon, Kenya, etc. And as I said, last year, I became the president of the South African Institution of Civil Engineering. And as an president, I went around the country. It was my privilege after COVID to reconnect with membership, and membership is about 1/3 student and 2/3 professionals. It was an eye-opener to go around the countries. It was inspiring to go around the country and interact with students and young professionals and how they are driven to try and make a difference in this country. A draft that talks to what I showed you in the previous slide, my passion to make a difference in society. I'm very proud of being an award winner of the NSTF award in one of the 9 in 2022. And mostly I'm proud because the NSTF recognized my contribution to society. So it wasn't about the papers that an academic traditionally writes. It was about the 5,000 people that I have been able to save on the roads in the Western Cape province, for example, with that co-produced knowledge in the projects that I have done with the province. While EXA didn't recognize me, I did apply for recognition in the UK to the Engineering Council there, and I became a chartered engineer last year. I'm even a fellow of the Institute of Civil Engineers in the UK. And again, they recognize the contribution not only to research, but also practical applications. When I went to receive my fellowship, I was asked, given that I was the president last year, to also say a few words. And here I'm standing in a hall, it's called the Grand Hall, at 1 George Road in London, a hall where movies such as Bridget Jones's Diaries have been recorded in front of 120 new chartered engineers and fellows and their family, a total of over 300 people. And I decided to talk about becoming and being a global citizen. How I do think that every engineer, and I'm obviously working in the engineering field, should keep the citizens at the heart of what they're doing, making sure that they're making a difference for citizens in their own countries and abroad, and not only thinking about their salaries or, in my case as an academic, about papers. I mentioned working with co-producing knowledge with the United Nations, and this is a study with the United Nations Environmental Programme, where we look at the current transport system and try to identify strategies and enablers to move to a green transport system and how to do that. And that type of work is still done in global consortia today. the work with the province, and this is an example of a paper together with an undergraduate student, Mr. Duncan McCune, where we looked at, in the medical field, the golden hour and identified if people that have crashes on the roads can get to emergency care in that golden hour. And from the light green, red dotted areas, you can see that large part of the provincial roads are not within that golden hour, creating a risk. And some of the suggestions were where to have paramedics stationed throughout the province to give emergency care. And as I said, I'm really proud that we have been able to save 5,000 people on the Western Cape roads. Another example is crime perception and how males and females before and after COVID perceive crime in South Africa differently. And we know that gender-based violence is an issue. So I'm also very proud of a project that we did, an international project for the whole of Africa, where we looked at different stakeholders and how to structure over 2,000 pieces of information that we have on measures that can be implemented in the African context. So I'm very proud of launching this tool. And if you do a search on Google, She Can tool, you will get to our webpage and the type of information and actions that different stakeholders can take. And at the moment, I'm busy together with, and this is his father, together with one of my postgraduate students, building a driver simulator where we can, with virtual reality, simulate what will the world look like with more electric vehicles, more three-wheelers, more Uber Eats, and how will drivers react, and how will road safety change, and how will personal security change in that type of environment. So what really makes me tick is the impact of my research in society. I'm hoping to be able to create societies such as these, smart cities where people feel secure, where the energy demands are limited, and where the economy can flourish formally and informally. So from me, the take-home messages for you, and I hope my story inspires you as it has done other people last year. No matter where you're from, even me as a small town girl from a mining background, you can make a difference in society. So please do so. Stay true to your beliefs. Don't listen to noise from others. I've often been said you will never succeed, and other people have tried to put barriers in front of me, but I've made sure that I stay true to my beliefs and keep moving forward. To succeed, you need to make sure that you find your balance in academics, your body, your mind, and the timelines that go with that. You need to make sure that you make time every week for all of them. And discipline is your friend. If it wasn't for me getting timelines on the academics, body and mind, I would never have been able to do my master's while I had a full-time job. I would have never been able to do my PhD while I had a full-time job. And I would have never been able to do things like being the SAICI president while I have a full-time job. So be disciplined, make sure that you take care of all elements of yourself. And with that said, I thank you for your attention and are open to any questions. I will stop sharing now so that I also can see you. Thank you, Yanni.
Thank you, Prof. Marianne van der Schuren. Thank you very much. That was so interesting. Any questions? Anyone? I hope you have taken in what she has told you, even if you're being very quiet. I love those examples you started with, that Charles Darwin was too lazy and a bit dreamy, and Einstein was a failure, and all kinds of things that are very inspiring, because, you know, sometimes when you are different, you're underestimated. And it's very true. And I love your story of how you had to go to the MAVU in Holland, and then you realized when you got to the point where you would go into retail selling, basically, that you didn't actually want that, and you turned back and made sure that you can do the academic route. That is also inspiring. You know, in South Africa, we've got mathematics literacy and maths, and you have to choose actively which one you take. And basically, mathematics is the academic route. You can't go further, you know, to engineering and medicine and all kinds of things if you don't have mathematics as opposed to mathematics literacy. But the whole country does mathematics literacy so that we can get the phenomenal pass rates that we have in matric. And in the end, they mean nothing, because if they haven't actually, people haven't had the academic foundation, they cannot go on to tertiary level, to university studying. They can go on to tertiary level, but not to university studying.
Yancy, I completely agree with you. One of the very interesting things, drafts that we did last year that came up in Natal while we were doing the visit in August there last year, is that we wanted to do a scientific calculator draft. So we actually collected money, and we had in over 300, almost 400 calculators that we distributed in the country. And I was privileged to be able to be part of the distribution in the Western Cape, and obviously other volunteers did it in other parts of the country. So we went to Langa High School and selected the people that had physics and higher grade maths, or true maths, whatever the wording is that you want to use. What was quite interesting, because we didn't have enough to give the whole class a calculator, so we came up with a little game to let them answer, and if you gave the right answer, you got a calculator, and you would drop out of the competition, and then the rest of the class could go for the next one and the next one. What was quite interesting is, although these were students that were doing maths, their feel for numbers was actually not very great. You know, so in some of the questions, they had to calculate things, and they just didn't get it. And there were maths literacy type of questions that they just couldn't answer. So besides doing higher grade maths, what I would recommend is to also create a feel for numbers. You know, the speed of a car, what is, you know, if it's kilometers in hours, what is that in meters per second? And if you then, you know, if you have 1 or 2 seconds reaction time, how far is that car actually traveling in that? And some answers were 8 kilometers. Now, in a few seconds, a car doesn't travel 8 kilometers. So it indicates that that feel for numbers is as important and as actually being able to do the, you know, triple differential type of calculations. If you don't understand what you're actually calculating, you will make mistakes. So that would be maybe another takeaway message from our side.
Excellent message. Thank you. I agree. When millions of years ago, when I was doing another job, my area of specialization was maths education. So I absolutely agree with you on that. Yes, the thing of the small mining town is also very interesting, because Holland is a very sophisticated country, and you know, you were able, your family was able to move from the flat to the terraced house, which, you know, people here would regard as a huge privilege. Is Muimelele Mutangwa, and he also hearing students for varsity. Now, you guys are already in second year, so in a way you should have heard this last year, but still I think that it helps. You know, sometimes first year can be so overwhelming, and maybe this allows you to take a step back and just to hear what is good advice for a student. Muimeleli, welcome, most warm. You are very welcome, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much, Jan. I'm already feeling extremely comfortable with the platform.
Good.
It's not my first talk that I'm doing. That but then academically, I'm graduated vets, BSc Chemical Engineering, and then Master in Sustainable Process Engineering. And now I'm busy with my PhD in Digital Transformation with the Johannesburg Business School. And maybe to jump straight into the talk, because I was at some point in the same being, you know, high performing students. I think my mathematics was sitting at 97%, but I didn't make it into very, very brilliant. So one of the ground rules, so I the picture itself, because an element of sharing. So I'm here to share a few insights based on it, and hopefully, you know, you will find some of the insights that I'll be sharing with you useful. The chat function of Zoom is active, so if you feel free to just do that quickly. The second ground rule for life that I want to share with you has something to do with mutual respect. I am right, me too. And what this basically highlights is that it's actually possible for two people to have two opposing views and both of them being right. Right. So the fact that someone is right doesn't automatically mean that this another person with a slightly different view is wrong. So two different views can both be right. And I think being at an institution of higher learning, you've met people from different backgrounds, who have different beliefs, religiously, politically, etc. And to coexist properly with those people, this is a very important ground rule for life that I strongly recommend you must adopt. You don't have to be trying to be converting people to believe in what you believe in. It's possible for two people to believe in two different things and both of them be right. So even as part of this discussion, I might say a few things. Some things you might feel like, okay, maybe you don't necessarily agree with them. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. We can actually have different positions and both of us be right. So it's a very powerful ground rule for life that I encourage people to adopt. And then the last one, just to set a scene for the discussion, has to do with taking your own takeaway. And I think on the text there, it's written, only you can decide what's best for you. So we are on our respective unique journeys. So this is not a prescriptive discussion, right? So some things might resonate with you, some things might not resonate with you, and it's your task, it's your responsibility to ensure that as we're having this discussion, you keep a notebook with you so that you are able to capture the insights that you feel resonates with you, and just let go of the ones that might not necessarily resonate with you. And I mentioned capturing by writing, because it's important. If you don't write it down, the chances that you are going to that you're not going to remember it tomorrow are very, 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 very high. So yeah, so as I've already mentioned, the objective of the discussion is for us to share some of the insights that we have, so that at least they can assist you to to spend the time that you have at university to invest and to ensure that you are setting yourself up for life. And I think those ground rules, it's the first area that I feel it's important and you need to sort of consider from an adoption point of view. Then the second step in my discussion in terms of what I want to do is to introduce you to a concept of a hero's journey. I think this is a very popular concept, especially in the context of authors or in the art space. Like most movies, when they are written in novels, they sort of follow a similar framework. So it starts with a main character being called for an adventure, and then at some point they find themselves at a crossroad. And I even the previous speaker, when they were narrating their journeys with the adventure, and after making that decision, it's filled with a lot of failures. They get to a point, then they can actually, go to the other side where they've been atoned, and then, they sort of reap the rewards of going through all of that. So, and I think maybe just a quick example, if you've watched a lot of Chinese movies, Jackie Chan will be walking, and then some guy's angry, so he wants revenge, and then who will teach him how to fight. He fights the guy who fought. When he's about to die, he remembers all those lessons from master of how university equipped me for life. And as I'm sharing these stories, feel free to then take the valuable takeaways that you feel will add value in your life, right? So, so next I'm going to talk about some of the few highlights, isolating some of the hero's journey moments that I've had. And the first one is around speaking. So I think most of you will agree with me, those at least who are from the previously disadvantaged schools, local schools, that, language speaking it's not necessarily something that they focus on, especially, English presentation, presentation skills or communication skills. So they will even go to an extent of teaching you English as a language in your home language, right? So when I started my first year, and maybe this is a challenge that most of you encountered, I had a huge challenge in terms of verbal communication and confidence. So just the ability to raise my hands in class and ask a question if I feel like I need further clarity on a particular, point. And I will watch people, doing that. So I recognized very early that if I don't work on addressing this particular challenge, I will find myself in a situation where I will fail. It will affect me academically. So I then decided to join the debating team. And I remember the first debating competition that I entered. The guy I was debating against was right recently, he's Dr. Samtombi, right? And at the time he used to do your TV presentations. And he was, when I literally spoke after him, and I really, the gap was, significantly clear. But instead of, so that sort of motivated me to enter, for example, the first debating team, to enter the Toastmasters in the university. So all these clubs that could help me improve my public speaking skills. And I think that there is a hero's journey moment there. Secondly, it was poetry. So I've always been interested in, you know, when you attend these race events and then you get these guys who will just do things with words and makes people feel things and, you know, get all the attention from, you know. So I then decided, you know what, I want to try this poetry thing, right? So I wrote some poems, you know, entered the Poetry Society. And, you know, in the beginning, it was obviously very, very, you know, I was not very good, let's say. But towards the end, over time, you know, I found myself winning poetry competitions. And I think the biggest for me was the Drama for Life Poetry Slam, right, which was done at the Joburg market, which I didn't win, but I was on the top 5. But it was a national level sort of poetry competition, right? And even to this day, you know, I've sort of found a way of expressing myself and making sense of some of the emotions that or things that I deal with. So it's a quite important or powerful force for my mental health as well. But it was something that I was not even doing before I went to university. And then martial arts as well. So, you know, in Joburg, sometimes you get mugged and you lose things, and it's not fun, you know, to find yourself in that space where you feel like your life is literally in the hands of the person who's obviously mugging you. So after having an experience where I was mugged, right, I decided to join martial arts, which was also one of the clubs that were present in the university. And like I said, the hero's journey. So in the beginning, very difficult. You know, even the small guys, even this guy, Madivecha, this short guy, you know, was beating me. But, you know, the more consistent, the more you allocate time, the more you practice. I mean, towards the end, I think I even represented South Africa at the World Martial Arts Games and then came back with 2 bronze medals, which was a very proud moment. And these are all the activities that are happening while I'm an undergraduate student, while I am studying towards my, you know, BSc chemical engineering qualification. So I'm just trying to highlight the point here to say, to set yourself up for life, you don't necessarily, you have to look at the lessons and the skills that you are learning from the qualification, but explore the university as a whole, and look at what other life skills can you develop using various opportunities. I mean, I was part of the house committee in the residence where I was staying, subcommittee, participating in housecom, in SRC activities, etc. And because of all of that, I built a very strong community around me, which most of them are even family. I call them even family. So even years after varsity, I still have those relationships, and they add so much value. They add so much value in terms of the things that I do after university. My first international travel experience happened through the university. So when I started when I was doing my master's, I developed a mathematical optimization model, which was accepted for an oral presentation in China, and through my supervisor, all expenses were paid, and it was my first time on a plane, from a village. It was something very big, and when my presentation actually won the best presentation in that particular international academic conference, right? But now that moment for me exposed, I think the previous speaker spoke about global citizenship. Now I'm very interested. Every opportunity that I have to travel, holidays, I am now, even this weekend, I was in Kenya just to explore the culture, just to explore, the environment and the way of life in that particular area. And all these were were things that they were unlocked because of that university experience. So the point that I'm making is, don't limit, expand, have an open mind, and learn as much as you can in terms of the various skills, various connections, things that you can then use even life after university. As a student, I started 2 companies. 3. The other one failed. It was a clothes. I used to buy t-shirts and rebrand them with motivational quotes, for the students who were struggling. right. But that business, I did not take it further, as much as it won some awards also inside the university, because I was also part of the University Student Business Society. So student society in general, I used them to prepare or to equip myself with skills that I do not necessarily get in class, right? So the first business that I started as a student was washing shoes. So I was probably one of the first few people in the country who started the business of washing shoes when I was a student, to obviously complement my pocket, right? But that same business, I carried it even after university. Right now, from washing shoes, in my room on campus, being known as that guy who just washes shoes. Now, it's a company which is doing well. We are manufacturing green, biodegradable, proudly South African, SABS approved, products. We are now training unemployed youth in townships to start their own professional cleaning businesses. And I'm very proud of this business. The second business that I started when I was doing my master's was a publishing company. This was after I published a book called Before Varsity, sharing experiences, my undergraduate experiences, to say these are some of the things that you should look out for, because I'm of the view that if you have been admitted to university, it means academically you have the capability of actually passing. So the reason why a lot of people end up not passing is because of other factors. In terms of that delays them being able to adapt to the environment, skills such as financial management, communication skills, social skills, etc. So that's what the book talks about. It's a national bestseller now, and sort of started publishing books for other emerging authors as well. So that's Ink Matter. So the key takeaways here, in terms of some of the core skills that I learned while I was in university that set me up for life. The first one has to do with journaling your dynamic plan. So at any given point in time, you need to have a plan, or answers to the questions of what is it that you want to do after university, and what is it that you can be doing while you are in university to prepare yourself for that life, right? So you cannot afford not to have a plan, and your plan doesn't have perfect. It has to be dynamic. You can always change it. And journaling, don't trust your head too much, right? Even to this day, I still journal daily, right? 5-10 minutes with my journal, just to explore my thoughts, just to have a conversation with myself, just to clarify my thoughts around, different things. So that's one skill that I will encourage you to also adopt. Keep a journal, journal every day, because writing is a way of thinking. So think about your plans, think about what you want to do, have a conversation with yourself through a book and a pen. The second one, understand all your basic needs, right? So and I think the poetry came in here a bit. You have basic physical needs like water and food and shelter and warmth, but you also have basic psychological needs, things that you need at a psychological level, the same way your body needs food and water, right? Understand what are those needs for yourself, right? For me, the sense of connectedness, a sense of progress, competence, knowing that you are good at something is a basic psychological need. So have that, the more you journal, try to understand yourself at that level. Basic spiritual needs, the concept of love and God and spirituality and religion. So you need to ensure that you are actively feeding your basic needs physically, psychologically, and spiritually. Because what happens if you are starving, physically, if any of your physical needs are not met, you will feel unwell. The same way you will feel unwell if you do not feed your basic psychological or your basic spiritual needs, whatever those are for you, right? So sometimes you're not depressed, you are just starving at a non-physical level. So I will say, I also encourage you to spend your time making sure that you are aware of familiarizing yourself with all those needs across all those 3 levels, because now you will feel good, and when you feel good, you will do good, as opposed to not feeling good and not knowing or even why you are not feeling good, right? So the third one is owning your own ground rules, your own decision, and your own standards. So one of the difference between an adult and a child is their ability to make decisions. So when you are young, all the decisions are being made for you, right? Now you are an adult, it means you need to make all your decisions. You can get encouragement, you can get insights, you can get inputs from different people, parents, etc. But at the end of the day, the final decision lies with you about your life, right? And every decision has the benefits. You will benefit from the decision, and every decision might have intended or even unintended negative consequences. And you must be responsible. You must stand there and absorb those unintended consequences of the decision that you have made. So at this level, you can't be telling me peer pressure, right? At this decision, you need to have ground rules that you own, that if you say you don't drink alcohol, okay, on a Sunday, right, for example, you don't need to explain that to anybody, right? So when your friends come and say, hey, let's go, hey, I have this ground rule for myself to say, I don't do this, I don't do that. So you set your own ground rules, you make your own decision, and then you set your own standards. Setting your own standards, the previous speaker, I think, touched on it a bit to say, stop comparing yourself. Just because other people, are getting a particular mark and you're getting, compare yourself with yourself, right? Have your own standards. I can expand on that, but let me pause it there. The fourth key takeaway that I want to share with you, it has to do with you understanding how life has been designed. So in terms of the system, of course, not by God. So, when you were in a high school, right, you were in that particular chapter called high school. And the bottom line was, it didn't matter what you did. If the bottom line or the most important thing when you're in high school was your matric, your end of year final results. Those were the most important, right? Whether you did this or you didn't do that, the ultimate question is, how are your final results? Right? Because those are the ones that then unlocks the door for the next chapter, which is the chapter that you are now in at university. So now that you're at university, that's the chapter that you are in, right? So you need to understand what is the bottom line, right, in this particular chapter that you are in. And the bottom line is, are you getting your degree or not? So it doesn't matter whether your lecturer hates you or you're not getting along with who. And at the end of the day, are you going to get this degree? Are you passing or not? Right? So because that bottom line is the one that's going to open the door for the next chapter, which will then be the life after varsity, right? So I don't want you to lose, because some people then mix up their priorities, right? Prioritizing things that are not necessarily important in the chapter that you are in, right? It's not, it's important, but it's not very important that you meet your life partner in this chapter, right? So when you need to think about that in your daily journaling, so that you can set your priorities straight to say, in the chapter that you are in, what is my bottom line? Yes, I can do other things, but the bottom line, the things that I cannot compromise. The fourth takeaway has to do with, understanding your contribution, right? To see yourself as a creature that adds value in the spaces that you are in. And this, maybe right now, you are still equipping yourself to be able to add value, right? You can add value here and there, but the reason why you are, studying towards the qualification that you are studying towards is because when you now have all those skills, it will allow you or enable you to be able to add a particular unique value, either to the organization that you'll be working for or whatever the case might be. But it is that contribution of that value that even make you to earn the amount of money that you end up earning. So the more the value you are able to contribute, the more the money that you're able to add. And what will determine the value that you are able to add sometimes is the skills that you have that allows you to add that particular value. So even when you're going through this journey of university life, you need to be thinking about the kind of contribution that you want to make in different communities in the world, right? Because so that you are intentional about equipping yourself with the skills that will allow you and enable you to be able to make those contributions, right? Another item to think about when you do your JD channeling. And some people take it to the next step to say that contribution is also aligned with, you know, your purpose, and God's idea of you, etc., etc. But regardless of your religious background and beliefs, you know, you might want to just make sure that there is alignment in terms of how you see yourself and the contribution that you want to make in the world. And then lastly, one thing that I also learned about the various things that I was doing is to have a routine. Because with the routine, I'm able to be even more productive, right? So designing my day or designing my routines to say on this day, this is, you know, waking up and sleeping at the same time. Making sure that there are few things that, you know, with no fail, I make sure that I do every day, you know, exercising in there, even if it's for 5 minutes, but at least I know that there are these daily routines, weekly routines, etc. So if you design how you manage your time around routines, you will see your productivity goes up, and you benefit from having a cumulative advantage or compound interest, but not in terms of finance, but in terms of the things that you are prioritizing in how you have designed your routine and your management. And if you leave university, so you use university to test different routines, right? Because after university, if you stick with a routine that you know works for you, you will see how much of a productive professional you're gonna be. So I'm looking at the time, so I'm gonna pause there and hand over to Yancy to then facilitate the question and answers. But as I'm stopping there, as she's taking over, I also would like you to, on the chat function, just write a word or two or a sentence of what you think you have taken away from this very short discussion that we've just had. Usually, I spend like a full day or even sometimes 2-day workshops just going through some of this material, but I try to compress it. But I'm hoping there are key things that you have, insights that you have been able to extract that you are going to use to set yourself, to use the opportunity in terms of the time that you're spending in university to set yourself up for life. So in the chat function, just write 1 word, 2 words, even a sentence of what you've viewed as very insightful for you from this particular discussion. Over to you, Yancy.
Mr. Mutambwa, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. And really, I wish we had a day or two of your facilitation so that we could actually discuss these things thoroughly and internalize it, make it part of ourselves. Yeah. Thank you for your very good advice, for your also for telling your story, because it is a story of growth and development where you've been very conscious of what you're doing, very deliberately developing yourself. I can identify with that thing of lacking confidence and needing to learn how to communicate verbally. It is very difficult when one's an introvert, as very clever kids often are, introverts. And it's very difficult then to come out of your shell and actually dare to talk to other people at all, and then dare to talk to a class full of people. It is very stressful. I know that. So that is one of the things. But I think also with your reference to martial arts and other things that you've done, it's about building confidence. And I would like to underline that. that that young people should take steps to develop their confidence, whatever it is, and push past that fear, as a previous speaker said, get through that fear threshold. You referred to death and rebirth along your journey. You never got beyond that. I think that's part of a day or two or a week workshop, isn't it?
Yeah, because I was trying to obviously, you know, go cover as much as I can, you know, given the time been allocated. 100%. Yeah.
Right. We have to move on to the next speaker, but we will have a question session at 12:40. So if you could stay for that, that would be great. Will you be able to stay?
Yes. And I see a few people have on the chat function also throw in some few comments. So I think I appreciate that, but I'm aware of the time. So yeah, you can move on to the next speaker, no problem. And then yeah, I'll just move to see if I can move something around, and then I should be able to stay.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. The other two speakers are not available, so we could actually use that slot very productively. Okay.
I'll confirm
very much.
I'll confirm with Itu if I'll be able to. All right, thanks, man.
Thanks, Muimulele. Right, our next speaker is Dr. Janelle Beeman. She's talking about sciencing in South Africa, a virologist perspective, as you see on the slide there. She's from the University of Witwatersrand, and she's also she is a co-manager of the research unit that won the NSTF Award last year. We'll see that in the chat there. It is the Global Immunology and Immune Sequencing for Epidemic Response South Africa, or GISA SA. And the unit was Data for Research Award winner. So she represents the reigning winner in this regard. Oh, I'm very proud to have you here, Prof. Beeman. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Beeman. Sorry, not Prof yet.
Thank you. Not yet, Prof.
But it's a great honor. It's a great honor for us to have you here. You're most welcome, and I'm looking forward to hear your presentation. Okay. I think she's frozen there. You can see the biography in the chat, and you can.
Thanks so much. So thank you, T. Are you able to hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I
as well.
I think I might switch my camera off because I think my connection is a bit unstable.
Okay.
And maybe that will help, but I can't figure out how to switch my camera off. You would think we'd have this down by now, but I don't. Clearly. All right.
No, it continues to be a challenge for everyone.
All right. So thank you firstly to the NSTF for inviting me to give this talk today. I'm very excited to give it, and I really hope that all the students, you guys will find some nuggets of helpfulness and usefulness, and I look forward as well to the question and answer session after this. So how I've structured my talk is to basically outline my scientific journey and my path to where I am right now. And I'm going to go through each of these little steps or these phases that I've highlighted here, and just kind of try and give you a take-home message from the main lessons that I learned through each of the phases. So the first phase, which was my schooling career, high school schooling career, the difficulty I experienced there was, you know, you probably as well might have experienced this, was at a young age already having to have some idea of what you want to do with your life. And that starts in grade 9 when you have to choose subjects. And so for me, the really weird thing and contrasting thing that happened was that I didn't actually even choose science as a subject to carry forward in my later high school years. When I made my initial subject choice, it was not on the list. And as I went through grade 10, I realized, wait, this is a mistake. There's so many more opportunities that will be available to me if I do choose science as a subject to carry forward. And so halfway through grade 10, I decided to drop one of my subjects to a 7th subject and take science and catch it up. And so the lesson I learned here is that while every phase of your life is a stepping stone and it is important, it is never too late to change direction. If you have the drive, if you are passionate about something, you will put in the work and you will put in the effort to get you to where you need to be and where you want to be. The second thing that I learned through my schooling career was that your experiences really define and shape where you are going in the future. And so to that end, exposure is impactful. And I know you guys are already at university, you've already done your choice in terms of what you want to study, but I think this extends throughout life. What I mean by saying exposure is impactful, the way that you learn about things, for example, the way that you learn about careers, the way that you learn about how people are impacting the world is by forming networks. And those networks don't necessarily have to always be in a business sense or a career sense. It can even be networks that you already have. So like your friends, your family, the social gatherings you go to, churches, things like that. But it is also important to make new networks. And where this came in handy for me was once I had, started beginning my applications to university, I really still was undecided about what I really wanted to do. What was I really passionate about? And I started talking to people and I started talking to different people, young people, old people. I went and I did work shadowing to see really what is out there, because sometimes your perception of what a job entails or what a career entails is actually different to what you would do on a day-to-day basis. And I just put in this picture here of my little sister when she was 7 years old. She came and she job shadowed and she did some work in the lab, and she just finished her matric, and she, from that experience, conclusively decided that she does not want to do science or certainly not molecular biology. And so that's why it's really, really important to talk to people and get an idea of what a career entails, because you need to be able to think about yourself in that career doing the routine tasks of the job, not necessarily the most exciting parts of the job, but the things that you have to do on a daily basis. And can you see yourself doing that regularly? And then I'll talk about my undergrad. So once I had then chosen what I wanted to do, so how I chose what I wanted to do, I actually applied for 3 different things. I applied for a BSc in molecular and cell biology. I applied for occupational therapy and chemical engineering. And in all of those, as I said, I spoke to people in those careers. And why I eventually went with BSc was I spoke to a person who was doing their honors at that time. And they told me about the project that they were doing and what was the end point, what was the point, what was the rationale for designing this project. And that just really blew my mind. It just showed to me like the possibilities that you can achieve through having a molecular biology degree. And then in contrast, in terms of the occupational therapy, I actually did work shadowing, and I went to an occupational therapist, and I spent 2 days with them just observing their day-to-day. And I realized there that that is an extremely and emotionally taxing career. It's so difficult because you're working with people with kids, for example, who are born with birth defects. You are working with people who've had strokes and who've lost the ability, for example, to talk and walk, people who are young, who have children who now have to learn how to speak again, who have to learn how to take care of their kids again. And so for me, I assessed my own emotional maturity and my own ability to compartmentalize. And I thought, that's not something that I can handle. So all of those things factored into my decision to do a BSc. Now, when I actually got to BSc, I think what I've learned from that experience is that there are so many resources available to you as a student once you go to a university. It's not like school, it's not structured, and it's not like somebody comes and gives you a form and says, here, you should do this after school activity, or you should do this additional classes or that kind of thing. It's up to you. And so you do require a little bit of initiative, but there is so much available at your university campus. So for example, your student centers, they have career planning generally. And even though this might not be exhaustive and extensive in every single degree that's offered by the university, it at least gives you a starting point of where you then can take it forward and go and do your research, get into contact with people, and even do some more work shadowing, for example. The next thing that I learned from undergrad is that, again, this is another opportunity for you to build your network. So within your own course, within your own degree, it's very easy to network with your classmates. You're all studying the same thing. You possibly have the same goals or the same mindset because you've chosen the same career path. But I think it's also important to network with people who are not within your course, people who are maybe even in a different faculty. And how you would go about doing this is obviously being involved in, for example, social events, sporting activities, those kind of things. And that's really important in the grand scheme of life as a whole, because when you go out and you start doing your desired career, nothing happens in isolation. And more often than not, the successes that we see are a result of collaboration between people from different fields who obviously contribute different things and who collectively can make a better outcome than doing something individually. So those are kind of like the main things from undergrad that I thought are really important. It's an opportunity when you can meet people. There's so many people at the university generally. And later on in life, once you become set in your routines, when you become set in your career, it becomes much more difficult to network outside of your field, outside of your work. So this is where it's kind of like your time to become a little bit of a social butterfly. And I know it is challenging and it is difficult for some people, but if you can rationalize it with yourself that this is going to be something that might benefit me in the future, that might be a motivator to help you get over some of your insecurities in that regard. So once I finished my undergrad, I was underwhelmed by the availability of projects for postgrad. And I felt like the projects that were on offer were not exactly life-changing. They were science for the sake of science. And while some people really enjoy science for the sake of science, personally, I wanted to do something that had an impact, that was going to improve people's lives, that was going to improve our health, for example. And the projects, unfortunately, that were offered at that time were things like figuring out how long it takes for an avocado to brown. So I wasn't particularly enthused. And so what I decided to do was I decided to go and explore the biological working side of life. And so I did an internship at the company National Bioproducts Institute. And honestly, this was a really, really eye-opening experience. What working at a company, so it's not a for-profit company, but it still is a company. It's very different to academia. And it's much more structured and it's much more controlled. But what it did teach me is that if you go into industry in the sciences, you are going to get paid a hell of a lot. I was literally an intern. I just had an honors. And to put it into perspective, I earned more money as an intern than I did when I was finishing my PhD a couple years later. So money is important. I'm not discrediting that, but passion is a luxury. So from my experience in my internship, I was getting paid so much of money, but what I was doing was not challenging. It didn't stimulate me. I felt like my brain was being wasted. And so, yes, you must always consider all your basic needs, all the things that you want to do above and beyond those basic needs. And so money always plays into your decisions. But if you can choose a career that you are passionate about, you will be so much more happier for that. If you can choose something that you wake up every morning excited to go and do, you'll do it well, and you'll do it easily, if I can say that. And so, yeah, so that's what my internship showed me, that, just because you're earning a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it. And also, to kind of contextualize it, most of our time in our lives, once you've completed your studies, is spent at work. So if you're not doing something you're passionate about, it becomes difficult, and it becomes your life becomes just something that you're going through the motions. It's not something that you're enjoying. It's not something that you are that you're excited about, basically. So passion is a luxury, and if you can do something that you're passionate about, go for it. So after my internship and experiencing the routineness of industry and not being challenged, I decided that I wanted to go back to academia. I decided that I wanted to find a project to do a master's and a PhD in, something that I thought would be very impactful. And so I went and I did both a master's and a PhD at the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. But just to kind of also put this out there, is it wasn't like I just applied to the NICD and that was it. I sent about 30 emails and applications out looking for a project to different labs across all the institutes in South Africa. And I heard back from only 3. Only 3 responded. Apart from that, only one of those 3 were able to take me on immediately. For the other 2, I would have had to wait for the following year to start a master's program with them. And so it's not necessarily that things will come easily. You really have to cast your net wide. You've got to make sure that you are giving yourself every opportunity, because for the most part, not everything you want is going to be a success. So if you cast your net wide and you apply for as many things as you possibly can, the chances of you getting a hit and being successful in at least one will increase. The other thing I learned from my postgraduate phase was that you should always aim high. And I've put in Donald Trump's picture here because I think Donald Trump is the epitome of getting lucky when you don't have the necessary credentials for a particular job. So I've always said to myself, ever since Donald Trump became president of the United States, I've always said now, if he can become president of the United States, literally anyone can do anything. And while Donald Trump is not the best example, what I mean by this is that if you aim high and you go above and beyond what you think you are capable of, there may be other people who have been observing your skills, maybe even in an interview, who might see potential in you that you can't see for yourself. And so specifically for me, actually, I've always aimed high. I've applied for jobs that I don't necessarily have the basic minimum requirements for. And most times I don't, you're not successful if you don't have the requirements, but I have been lucky on occasion where this is the case. People have seen something in me that I didn't see in myself, and that I was able then to do a job that I might not have been, in my opinion, qualified to do. And then the very third thing, when you're looking at anything in life, it doesn't only refer to postgraduate studies. I think this is an important thing for every person to have in any career, is to choose mentors. So if you are interested in a particular degree, or if you're interested in a particular career, look for people who are doing what you would like to do and approach them. Approach them, get a feel for who they are. Because if you have somebody who is a mentor, who is invested in you, they will bring out the best in you. And so I've put a picture there of my two mentors. I'll just give you a kind of a little story about me. I was a completely shy person. I had no confidence in myself. I didn't really think that I was smart or any of these kind of things. And these two women, my MSc and PhD supervisors, they saw this in me. They saw that I have potential. They developed that potential, and they helped to bring out this confidence in myself, which honestly, if it were not for them, I don't think I would have had that. And so, you know, mentors are not the be all and end all. If you don't have a mentor, you can still achieve probably anything you put your mind to, but it really makes your life easier. And it really does bring out things in yourself that you might not know you have. And it's very encouraging to have somebody who is always supporting you and who can point out your flaws, can point out your strengths in a way that doesn't hurt your feelings or that doesn't make you feel you're being criticized, but you know it's coming from a place of good intention. Okay, so that's my journey. And then the other thing that I learned during postgrad, and I've put in here a picture of myself fast asleep. This was probably around midnight at my desk. This was during PhD. The other thing that I've learned, you know, that I think I learned a bit too late in my life, is that balance is important. And I think it's becoming more and more something that we talk about, especially with respect to mental health. But while your career is going to be probably the thing you spend most of your time doing, it's also important to prioritize things that do make you happy outside of work. So, for example, in my case, family makes me extremely happy. Other people have hobbies like, I don't know, extreme mountain biking, things like that. So I think, you know, it's very important to develop that now already, while you're still young. Because if you tend to the side where you become a workaholic, it becomes more and more difficult to get out of those patterns of constant working when you get older, because you've accustomed yourself to a certain level of productivity. And if you don't have balance in your life and you just work as many hours as you can in a day, you will have obviously a very different level of productivity than if you're working with balance. And yeah, so that's something I think that's very key. And I think when you go into the scientific track, oftentimes you will see people working more than they should to be able to maintain happiness of their mental health. And so yeah, always have balance and do things outside of work to make your life fuller as well. So then I just wanted to touch on some of the benefits of a career in academia and public health. And these are the things that I've learned now from having a real job, not just being a student. The first, and I think the most important thing, or the most important benefit for me, is that this career that I have chosen has enabled me to provide service to my community, to our country, and also to the world as a whole. And for me, that gives me a sense of fulfillment. It, more than money, more than awards and things like that, being able to do something in your career that you know is going to be of benefit and is going to improve society, that for me has really been the most rewarding part of having a career in academic science. And I think this really came to prominence with the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I think most of my research was much more basic research. It was more focused on kind of the building blocks to what might one day be useful in the health sphere. But with the pandemic coming in, so much of science was repurposed to be able to combat this virus. And then the second benefit of this career for me is being able to travel, being able to explore so many parts of the world that were I not in science. Personally, I would not have been able to finance to be able to go to different countries. But having been in this science track, I've been able to go on training to other countries, training trips, conferences, and that's allowed me not only to obviously learn new techniques, new skills, but also to see the world that we live in, and to experience different cultures and to experience different people, which I think has also shaped my thinking and also the way I do my work. And then the third benefit for me relates, in my opinion, to paying it forward. And that's training the next generation of scientists. And I've just put some pictures here of my current 3 students who are very different in their own rights, but who are all very dedicated and brilliant people. And yeah, and that also gives me a sense of, you know, I'm passing it on, I'm passing the baton on, and these people, these young people will be able to do even better than I thought I would ever be able to do. And then this might not be applicable to the general public, but probably the most important benefit of me choosing this career is I met my lifetime lab partner, my husband. We both did our PhDs at the same lab. We met each other and we have been by each other's side ever since. Okay, and then and then the last thing, oh, not really, yeah, there's just 2 more things that I wanted to touch on. Some of the challenges with doing science for those of you that will be pursuing this career path in South Africa, and some of it does actually extend to other regions as well. The first, and I think this probably is not limited to science, academic science, but probably to many more STEM careers, is funding, money. It's always an issue. So internally, it's very challenging to get funding, for example, from the NRF, from DSI. And, you know, that's because we are a low to middle income country and our governments are balancing many other priorities. So internal funding is very limited, which means that more often than not, you have to apply for external funding from other sources, other governments, other organizations. And when you have to do that, the competitiveness increases because now you are not only applying amongst your peers in your country, but you're applying amongst peers globally. And so that is a really difficult situation in academic science, is how to ensure sustainability of your research unit or your lab. The second thing that is a massive challenge in South Africa and probably the most of Africa is sourcing consumables, sourcing reagents. And that's because there is barely any local manufacturing, and most of what we use in the lab has to be imported from generally China, the UK, or the US, or Europe, shall I say, not UK. And while this is a challenge, I think both of these linked together present opportunities. And I guess I'm putting this out to you as the new up and coming young, very smart, very talented people of South Africa, is I think part of the challenge for us and part of the opportunity that these challenges present is about building capacity in Africa and building parallel work streams. So for example, with our ESCOM situation right now, you know, I think it's a really nice idea to think that the government could supply power to the country. But it's becoming more and more apparent that we need individuals to step up and to start finding solutions. So in the same way that people are now making their own solar, you know, implementing solar in their homes and things like that, and then selling the solar that they generate back to the country. In the same way as we're doing that, we could be doing the same kind of things here in South Africa in terms of not only reagents for science, but for example, manufacturing in general, producing syringes, for example. We import all our syringes. It's something very simple, it's something very needed, and yet we don't have that capacity to make our own. And so, yeah, so those opportunities I feel are things that perhaps you as the next generation can tackle, how to build capacity and how to build infrastructure in Africa parallel to what the government might be doing, parallel to the streams that are currently set up and in use. And then the very last challenge, which for me is something that I think should be addressed at high level, and which I try to bring up at every conference that I speak at, is the issue of postgraduate funding. So I think many of you are likely to do postgraduate degrees. And when you do, you will see that funding for postgraduate stipends is pathetic, to say the least. Especially when you consider somebody could go into a job, a full-time job, and earn a full salary, or they could do a postgraduate degree and basically earn peanuts. Most people practically are going to make the choice to go into career because they have responsibilities, because they have families that they have to support, not necessarily their own children. Some might have their own children, but as many of you from big extended families know, it's expected that once you've got your degree, you earn a salary and you start giving back to your parents, to your grandparents, etc. And so I think that the way that the current system is structured is extremely limiting. It limits who can do a postgraduate degree and who will choose to do a postgraduate degree, in large part based on financial responsibility. So that's a huge challenge, and that's actually not unique to South Africa. That's the outlook, I think, globally, is that students are cheap labor. And I'm hoping that with time we will be able to address this, and we'll be able to change this so that postgraduate degrees become something that anyone in South Africa can access. And then the very last thing that I wanted to end with is something called the Goalkeepers. So this is a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation initiative, and it's aimed at bringing together people of all walks of life, of all ages, who are committed to addressing the Sustainable Development Goals, of which there are 17 that I've listed here. And I mean, based on your caliber as the NSTF Brilliants, I think that each and every one of you have the potential to be goalkeepers. And if you just follow that link, you can read the Goalkeepers report. The report actually maps our progress in trying to achieve these goals. And if you look at them, they are really basic goals that aim to address the core issues with our current society. So for example, if you just look at number 1, no poverty, a key issue that is the cause of so many conflicts, that is the cause of death, for example, that is the cause of people not being educated. It is kind of like a baseline. And all of the other goals kind of stem from that. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is I actually, I didn't know about this until very recently. And I think I attended this, they have a yearly conference where they bring together goalkeepers to try and build this community and encourage collaboration and encourage people to work together so that we can try and make some impacts in achieving these goals. And especially after the pandemic, so much of the progress that had been made had been reversed because all the funding, all the effort had been focused in on this one virus. And I was at this conference, I was so inspired. And what was striking to me was it was regardless of degree, it was regardless of qualification, it was regardless of age. There were kids, high school kids, who were goalkeepers, who shared their stories of how they are changing parliament, by their advocacy. And so I'd really like to encourage you if not to aim to become a goalkeeper, but just to go in and read some of the stories and be inspired to become the change makers that I know all of you have the potential to do. So thank you. Yeah, and looking forward to the Q&A session.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks very much, Dr. Beeman. That was very good advice. I think it's great that the students are getting this advice now. It certainly is important to start thinking about postgraduate studies even now. It seems early, I'm sure, because you're still getting to grip with the basics, but you do need a plan, and it's a good plan to go into postgraduate studies, even with the enormous challenges that Dr. Beeman has outlined. There are opportunities. Make sure you apply for them. Make sure you look for opportunities overseas as well. There are ways of getting it, and if you don't search for those opportunities, they won't just come looking for you. So that's very important. We now have our question and answer session. We're a bit behind time, but that's fine. Can I first bring back Moimalele and ask you if there is something else that you want to say, and whether there are questions? Or are there questions for Dr. Janelle Beeman? What do you think of what she said? You can also just give comments if you want to respond. Hello? Is there anyone out there? Well, Janelle, I think it's wonderful that you met your husband in a lab. Not everybody can say that. That you actually found, yes, you found each other because of what you've got in common and the kind of work that you do together. So that is very romantic.
An unexpected benefit.
I'm sure it's unexpected. I think Moimalele said that this is not the time to find your life partner while you're doing undergraduate. You must keep the goal in mind that you want to get this qualification first. But I must say, Moimalele, that life happens, and that it can kind of give a slightly different timeline to your life, or it can take you totally in another direction. Those kinds of things happen. But I also want to applaud the encouragement to keep a goal in front of you and just make sure that you actually achieve that goal so that you can open further doors. It's very funny that Trump actually became a lesson to you.
I know.
That if he can be the president, you can do anything.
I mean, honestly, it should be a lesson for all of us.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, if there aren't any further questions, then we can go on to Prof. Twala, and then perhaps have questions after that. Moimalele did send a message to me that he was unable to move his 12:30 engagement so he won't be able to be part of the question session. I would really like to know what the students have learned so far in their study careers. Mbuyisa says, Dr. Janelle Beeman mentioned something about maintaining balance. I would like to know how she managed to do that. Sometimes the amount of work is overwhelming.
Oh, thank you for, a very, very good question. So I would say I have only learned that in the last year or two. And that's why I'm saying it to you now, is that you need to plan out exactly how much of time it's going to take you to do this, and you allocate that amount of time to that task. Beyond that, that is beyond your scope. That's now how I do it, is I have very strict rules. And in all honesty, the only reason why I now have some measure of balance in my life is because I have a child and I have to dedicate some time to her. But before this, I was a workaholic. I literally probably spent maybe 4 or 5 hours sleeping at home, and the rest of my time would be at my lab. So definitely it's not easy, but you have to become two things. You have to become efficient in the things that you are doing. If something is taking you too long to do, you need to learn ways of fast tracking that, or ways of improving your ability to do that thing. But also is careful planning of your day, and carefully saying, I am going to do this in 2 hours. If I have not completed it in 2 hours, I will have to send what I have done in those 2 hours. And then you have to say, I am going to have dinner with my family at this time, and my phone is switched off, my laptop is packed away. And you've got to basically put structure in your life. And I think it speaks to what the previous speaker was saying, is having routine and having a plan. Basically, every week you should be sitting down and saying, setting realistic goals for yourself about, these are the things that I need to achieve and that I can achieve in the time afforded to me in this week. And then you've got to do just those things. You cannot go above and beyond. At your level right now, if you are struggling to cope with the workload at university, it may speak to some foundational aspects in your understanding that are missing. And so I might encourage you to get a tutor, or even to speak to some of your TAs and say, the lecturer mentioned this in class, and I'm trying to do these problems, I'm trying to work this out. Could you offer me some advice? It could be, that kind of a thing. But if it's more like a language barrier thing, I would encourage you to read. If it's an English language barrier kind of thing, I would encourage you to read books, because that helps improve not only your vocab, but also your contextualization of the English language. So I think hopefully that helps. Maybe not, but I'm happy to, if you want to expand on your comment, I'm happy to address specific queries.
Would you like to respond? Mbuyisa? She says, thank you. Thank you for that very sensible answer. I know that is one of the things that seems almost without a solution when you are thrown in the deep end at university or in certain jobs where you have to really make time out of thin air, and you discover that it can be done. And the other thing is the busiest people are somehow the most organized. because it's either sink or swim. So once you have a child, yes, it's very difficult to balance everything, but then you actually do, because you have to. Right. Thanks very much, Dr. Bierman. That was extremely useful, and I know the students have benefited from what you've shared. She put a message in the chat. Please also feel free to reach out to me. I would love to be of assistance to any of you, and there is her email. Please, everyone, remember to copy the chat so that you can do this, so that you have it at hand. Okay, our last but not least by any means speaker is Professor Wellington Didibuku Twala. And he won the Engineering Research Capacity Development Award in 2020. And he also was on the adjudication panel for the awards for many years. So he is someone who is very familiar to us, but at the same time, very inspirational, very much a role model to us as well. Professor Twala, you are on. You are muted.
Yes, just good afternoon. You know, it has been a busy day today. You know, I was just talking to some student, just since morning. So I have to jungle just in between, in between the programs. So that, but there's some other session that I just listen, to them under this speaker panel. So otherwise, thanks so much. Just welcome everyone. I think let me share my screen. Maybe in the meantime, while I'm still sharing some screen, maybe in terms of our learned colleagues, our friend, if maybe at this particular point in time, what they can actually do for us. If maybe they can just write on the chat to say, in fact, what have they learned since morning? Some few things, so that we can be able to understand, say, what have they learned just since morning? Sometimes my screen is a problem.
Please, you guys. Even the NSTF people, you please write something that for you is the key takeaway.
Yeah, as a key takeaway. So that we can just take it from there. What I need to do now, just. That key is fine. My computer sometimes is a problem, so let me just try to do that. It doesn't want me to try to share. Computer. Don't worry. It always just does this particular problem sometimes.
Yes, don't worry.
It's fine. Then,
not a problem.
Just want to go
quite a lot today, and
In fact, I was having different presentations. So this one, I think, let me just open this one. Okay, then I go to okay, I see. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I see it. I see your presentation.
Okay. No, thanks so much. I think in terms of my focus, what I'm going to focus on, I cannot just focus. In fact, I thought let me just go in terms of the hard sciences, in terms of hard engineering now, just talking about in terms of the those technical issues. Let's say, let's just focus on one thing, as a student. So myself, I studied for 11 years. So actually without failing a subject. So the only thing that I do in the 11 years, I only miss 2 lectures that I miss. So one of the lectures I missed, in fact, it was my birthday. Then the class just came to my room and they say, you are not going to a lecture today. So then in terms of the second one, so it was actually a birthday to our professor. We decided just to hijack the professor, not to have a lecture on that day. So therefore, those are the 2 lectures I missed in my 11 year of study. So just one of the things, I think that was quite important. Most of the things I used to learn in class. So therefore, just for me, when I get to my room, it was just to revise. I think one of the things I used to get most of particular information. So just during the lecture. So what I decided to talk about today is in terms of teamwork. How can you use teamwork as a tool for today and for tomorrow? So remember what you are learning at the university today, you're going to use it today. And when you go to the workplace, you are supposed to use those particular skills. That's why I always encourage students to say, look here, what you need to do, you need to participate in many activities. Part of the thing that you need to learn, you must learn patience. So you must learn hard work. Learning very hard is one thing, is one side of the story. But another side of the story, you need to be able to be patient. If you're not patient, it's difficult to make it actually in the workplace. Where a manager, you need something today, you're going to take weeks just to sign that thing. So you need to be able. Part of the thing is the negotiation skill that you must also learn while you're still at school. You won't learn those particular skills. So once you have actually finished your university life. So I decided just to say, let me just look in terms of teamwork. How can it assist? So the way, part of the example I'm going to use here, so is how managing team, moving from a lecturer position, going up to management, how it have assisted me in learning to work with people. I think that one is quite important. Then the first thing that you can look in broadly is in terms of the team. So here we are looking about a group of people, those people who perform their work, interdependent tasks, just to work towards accomplishing a common mission or specific objective. So as engineers, as scientists, one particular thing, you cannot work alone. You need to work. From school, you work practicals, you have got group work, you have got syndicate work. Even if you leave the university, what you must know, you won't work alone. I can tell you in the academic world. So when you do publishing, one of the things when you go for promotion, they're going to ask you, so do you work with other people? Do you work with people nationally, within the country, within the region, internationally? So therefore, you need to be able now to gather those other people in your area of specialization within the country and outside the country, so that you are able to share the expertise. So because your main specific is that specific objective that all of us, we actually want to achieve. So those are the things. Therefore, how to define a good team? So a good team, just generally, you're going to bring individuals together. So just to work towards collective goal, So there's a particular goal. You may have people. So when you work those people, they don't assist you in realizing the particular goal. Those particular people, they don't fit in your particular team. I think later on, I'm going to explain to say, you may have people who don't fit into the team, but as team members, how can you do just to make sure that these other people, they also contribute in terms of the team? So one particular thing, I was addressing some people, if there's some student, some high school student, just last year. So actually one of the students then, when I was asking the question, he said he liked to work individually, but he want to be a medical doctor. Then I say, if you're a medical doctor, you're going to be working with different people. You're going to be working with patients, suppliers, other doctors, nurses, different people whom you're going to work with. But if you're saying yourself, you want to follow a particular profession, you want to be a doctor, but you don't like work with people, how are you going to work with patients? I'm just saying, those are the things that you must understand your career to say, what does your career want? So therefore, you start to inculcate those particular things while we're still at university. To say, if I'm gonna work with a team, like for example, in engineering, you may be engineer, but what you need to do, you're gonna need your architect, you need your quantity surveyors, you need different people in order to be able to deliver that particular product. So as an engineer alone, you won't be able to achieve the particular product, in fact, if you're working alone. So you need the other team members. So if you're looking at teamwork, so you're having different people. So, but the common goal is that particular center that is there. That's all of us, we may work, you know, interdependent, but at the end of the day, the objective that we want to achieve is that particular center that is there. So therefore, if we don't work in a team, we won't be able to just to achieve that. So therefore, teamwork is quite important. So even in terms of a syndicate work, that you're gonna be given, so at the university, so those are the things that you must be able to get a team. Put together a team that's gonna be a winning team. How does teamwork assist you? Teams assist one. You are able to identify your strength, you know, we are able to identify your weaknesses. One particular thing in terms of people, you know, who are very brilliant. The only thing they know that they're actually brilliant. They don't know their strength. What is their strength? Then you've got other people who get 100%. Once they get 80% in a test, I'm telling you, from being a lecturer, I mean, for over 20 years. So once a person gets a lower mark, he's just frustrated. She or he becomes sick. Because what happens now, person doesn't understand to say, you may have a particular strength on a particular thing, but doesn't mean that you're gonna win every day. So therefore, the second issue that you must look at is the issue of your weaknesses. What are your weaknesses? You may be brilliant, you may be passing very well, but only to find that you don't relate very well with other people. So what you need to do, once you are able to identify your strength and weaknesses, therefore you're gonna work on those particular things to say, what makes me to be able to work with other people? What makes me not to be able to work with other people? Then once you work on those particular things, therefore all the team members, they're gonna be able just to work together for a common goal. Otherwise, if all the team members, they don't know their strength, individual strength, weaknesses, because what you need to do, once you understand your strength and your weaknesses, those are the things that you're gonna bring in terms of the teamwork. So I found it in terms of students. Sometimes they choose a syndicate, so where they're given an opportunity to choose. So sometimes they use in terms of proximity to say, I want people who are closer to me, but in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of those particular people, they don't look at them. I'm saying those are the things that you need to look at now. If you know the weaknesses of one particular team member is 1, 2, 3, therefore you're gonna be able to work on those particular weaknesses, so actually within the team. Otherwise, if you don't know the strengths and weaknesses of the individual people, you won't be able just to succeed as a team. Type of team, we have got a real team. A real team is committed to working together successfully to achieve high performance. We've got different teams. You've got the web teams. You may have a project and development teams, which yourself one of the things. So you're gonna have in your career, you're in second year now, up to last year, you're gonna have project teams whereby we are given, you're gonna have different teams. Today, you may have a team of 5 people. Then next month, another team of 6 people, but a different team from the one you have. So those are the teams based on project teams. So once you've achieved the particular objective of the particular project, that particular team, so it will no longer exist. But there's skills that you must be able to gain, you know, in each and particular teamwork. So they apply across all the projects, in fact, which you're gonna be given. You may have parallel team, management teams. So then let me just look in terms of working groups and self-managed teams. So here, what to do now, you may have a working group. So in terms of a working group, so what I've done, I've contrasted the two, whereby you have got on a working group, you have got a clear leader, individual accountability, complete assignment. Here we are having, in a working group, we are having a team leader who is able to do everything for the team. Okay, what it does is just consultation and you make the decision. When you talk about the self-managed teams, we are talking about shared leadership for team meetings. What we are saying here, we are saying within the team, everyone is a leader. Okay. So in terms of accountability, we are looking at the mutual and individual accountability. We're saying the team as a whole is accountable, and within the team, we're having individual people who are also accountable. So you need to be able to train to carry out multiple team tasks. You know, if you work in a team, that's where you talk about the issue of multitasking. You know, if you're in a lab, you know, we are doing an experiment. Today, you may be doing task 1. Tomorrow, you may be doing task 3 or task 4. So therefore, what you need to do, that comes the issue of multitasking, to say, if team member B is not around, another person must be able to do the work, of team member B. Performance goals, they are set by the team. You don't set individual goals, you set team's goals. So collective work products is we use we don't use I. You know, mutual feedback, open-ended discussion, active solving problems. So remember, there are going to be problems. One we bring in a particular meeting or in a particular scenario, you bring more than one person. So we are bound to have problems. You know, so therefore, what you must learn that as you bring the team together, you're going to have problems. But what is quite important, you need to be able to have a mechanism how to solve those particular problems. It's quite important as a team. You must be able to sort out those particular problems so that the team can be able just to move forward. Not inhibited by organization boundary. I'm saying the team, what you need to do, there are things, policies that may be there that you need to follow. For example, let me just give you an example. You may have a particular practical or a particular syndicate work that you are supposed to complete in 2 weeks. But as a team, you can agree, we want to complete this work in 1 week, or just 7 days. We want to be done in terms of particular work. So I'm saying there must be agreement within the team to say, ourselves, this particular task that have been given, we want to complete it within this particular period of time. Although we know we need to submit it in 14 days, but ourselves as a team, we want to submit it in 7 days so that we're able, maybe you can even ask the lecturer or we ask another person, you know, outside the group. Okay, senior people to say, can you check us? Can you check this work for us? You know, before we submit. So therefore they can check, make comments, and then you actually make sure that everything, you make the correction just before the final submission. I think there's one particular key that you need to be able, if you're having those particular seniors and those particular 2 tasks, they're the one who must make your life just to be easy. So therefore, part of the thing that's, we actually encourage in terms of postgraduate. So when we look at undergraduate, we say, what you need to do once you do your work, maybe you do your design, you do some work, just bounce those ideas in terms of the senior, in fact, of the senior student, so that you can check your work before you submit. So also teams run the daily business of the unit. So I think that particular one, I'm just saying, in terms of the team, is not run by an individual. So it means all the team members, they actually involved. So strong performance, results focus. I think that one is quite important in terms, the major goal that you need to do, what brings the team together is in terms of the focus. The focus is going to lead to strong performance. So therefore, those are the things that you must be able to look at as a team. So as you go through the process in terms of the university, you go to work. Those are the things that you need to, to be able, just to focus on. You may be good, you may get a distinction at the end of the 4th year, or in terms of if your degree is 6 years, but at the end of the day, what's going to determine your success in the industry is not your mark. You're going to say, how do you utilize the technical knowledge that you've acquired within the university? So not necessarily in terms of the technical knowledge only. and also in terms of that particular knowledge, you know, those particular soft skills. I'm going to tell you a story. Engineers, you know, they don't have people skills. That's why what we've done now in terms of engineers. So who are teaching them in terms part of the social skills? So those particular soft skills, you know, so that they can understand people, that when you design for the people, you know. So you don't design and people, they appreciate your design. What you do, you make people to appreciate your design before you implement it. So therefore, those are the things that have been there that you have seen over time to say, in terms of engineers, they're just concerned about their technical, you know, competency. They're not concerned about, because design is about you're designing for people. So therefore, what you need to do, you just need to make sure that, I mean, at the end of the day, that packet design is save the interests of those packet people. So what I've done here, I've put in terms of team leadership to say, team leadership, you can divide it into three. You can look in terms of supervisory leadership, participative leadership, and team leadership. So therefore, in terms of the particular one, ourselves more were focusing on the third one in terms of team leadership. I think you can read in terms of the first one in terms of supervisory, like for example, it's just direct to the people. He explained the decision, he trained individual. There's no consultation, just say, look here, we need to train 10 people this year. What need to do? 10 people must be trained. I've reached, in fact, I would have reached my KPI. If you're looking in terms of participative leadership, you involve the people, you get input for decision, but at the end of the day, it's not the team that make decision. You get the input from the people, and then from there, as a leader, you make that decision. But when you're looking in terms of team leadership, you're looking in terms, you build trust, and what you do, you inspire the team, you know. So at the end of the day, you are saying, everyone, we need to achieve the goal. You motivate the people so that they can be able to work towards the particular team. You facilitate the team decision. The team must reach a particular decision, you know. So therefore, but at the end of the day, you know, in a team, if you're having 5 decisions which are there, you must be able as a team to choose, in fact, one decision at the end that shows, which represent the aspiration of the particular team. So you look at expand team capabilities. Some of the things, as I talked from the beginning, I say, in terms of team, you must multitask. When you multitask, what does it mean? It means that you may come today in a team knowing, having certain skills. By the time, over a period of time, what you're gonna do, you would have learned other skills that when you came to the team, you didn't know about those particular skills. You didn't have those particular skills. So therefore, there's part of the teamwork in terms of that, you know. So also in terms, create team identity. So there's a particular team, you know, it's like a football team. If you look at football team, so part of their slogan, they're gonna say, our identity was just a winning team. If we're playing at home, we actually don't lose. So therefore, create identity out of the particular team, you know. What does a team represent, you know? So those are the things that you must look at. Some other team, their identity say, ourselves, we just want to be happy people. Everything we do, we need to make sure that we win, you know. Our identity is just happy people. Make most of the team differences. They're gonna be differences. So among team members, just make sure that those particular differences, the team is able to manage those particular differences. Otherwise, if you don't manage the particular differences, you're gonna have a particular problem and it's gonna affect the performance of the particular team. Influence change, you know, change will be there. If you don't want to change, change will change you. So make sure that you look at change. So if ever there are things which are there that you need to change, make sure you do your own research, you do everything, and then you're gonna be able just to change. But don't change for the sake of changing because everyone is changing, you know. So it's like looking at the issue, we're looking at the issue of South Africa now to say, if you're looking at the Western world now, they are building those coal power stations, but ourselves are moving away from that. Is it a good decision in terms of that? So therefore, we're influencing to say all of us, we want to go to renewable energy, but the Western world, what they're doing, they're building nuclear and power station. I'm just saying those are the things that we need to be able to debate, to say if there's change that is there. So can we suppose the change is supposed to influence us? Yes, but can we do our own homework to see if this particular change is actually a good change for us or not, for that particular team? So just building an effective team. So what you're looking here, you can look at performance norms. So therefore, you're looking at a team in terms of cohesiveness, you're looking at performance norms, and you're looking in terms of team performance. So what I've done there, so you can see, so if you're looking at the left, you're looking at your cohesiveness. On top, you're looking in terms of performance norms. So therefore, you can look at those particular things to say, if you're looking at the poor goal, attainment and task of performance. So if you're having those particular two, they are low. So it means you're going to get a low score. So if you're looking in terms of performance norms, what we're looking at ourselves, we're looking at the other side where we want everything just to be high. So because remember, this team is a high performance one. So we want to achieve high goal attainment and also in terms of task, performance. So therefore, those are the things that you must look at in terms of your team. Building effective teams, the key elements of effective teamwork is a performance focus, working together, member contribution. The member contribution is important. I found that other students later on, they work in teams. When they come later to me and say, so-and-so is not contributing. What doing now? Maybe it's a third syndicate. In syndicate number 1, Simon, he didn't contribute. Number 2, he didn't contribute. So what we want to do now, in the third one, we don't want him or her to be part of the team because it's not contributing. But the question I ask them now, from the first assignment that syndicate that were given, if one of particular team members was not performing, what did you do as a team? They say, no, we ended up doing his or her own work. I'm just saying that's where the problem began. What you need to do, go and do the right thing now. Don't exclude the particular team member. Do what you're supposed to do on assignment number 1. So let the member to say, member, you need to do 1, 2, 3. If you don't do that particular work, therefore there should be consequences. It doesn't necessarily mean if you're working in team, therefore there's no consequences. There is consequences. So those are the things that you must also look at to say, you mustn't have some free riders who are gonna say, look here, we know so-and-so, if you don't do the work, one of the team members, member D, gonna be able to do our work. So therefore, you mustn't allow those things in teams. Because if you allow, that's why I think at the beginning, they're talking about the issue. I think the previous presentation was talking about in terms of burnout. That's why we're having people who are really suffering socially at work is those people, even at university, is those people who work very hard. Why? Because they believe if other people are not doing the work, they say, I'll do the work myself, So, but same mark, same everything, even at work, same salary, same everything. Other people, they don't do the work. Other people, they say, I'm gonna do the work for that one, which is actually not good, because in terms of workers, employees burning out, so it's caused by those particular things. So we need to be able to share the work actually equally. So we are looking in terms of the norms. So you must establish the norms of the teams, the role and responsibilities. It must be there. It must be known to say, if you're doing syndicate number 1, your role was this one. Are you going to, when you go to number 2, are you still gonna pursue the same role or we're giving you a different roles? Those are the things that you must discuss as a team in terms of the role. So the cohesiveness, I think that one is quite important in terms of teamwork. So in continuation now, if you look in terms of the team effectiveness is defined in terms of 3 criteria. The productive output of the team meets or exceeds the standard of quantity and quality. What you need to do, we have set that minimum. So the team must achieve that particular minimum or exceed in terms of quantity and also in terms of quality. You don't compromise. You don't achieve quantity and then you don't achieve, quality. So those two things, they actually go together. Team members realize satisfaction of their personal needs. So when the team achieve, so everyone within the team is happy, because how are you going to be happy? You're going to be happy because you've done something. If you have not done something within the Paka team, why are you going to be happy? Fine, the team have achieved, but yourself you have not done anything just to contribute in the success of the Paka task for the team. So you are not supposed to be happy. I think you should be angry or crying because you have not done what you're supposed to do to make sure that the team, achieve its target. So team members remain committed to working together again. Part of the thing, if you've worked together, so what you do, you're gonna still continue to work together, because we have seen that the team have bonded. So many things you can achieve within a period of time. You know each other. Remember from the beginning, I talked about the issue of the strengths and weaknesses. So we are not going to study new people now in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. If this particular team continue into the next project, the next task, so it's quite easy in terms of that. So that's how in terms of effective team. Some other people, what they normally do, some other people who form businesses, they start at university to work as team. Then after that, they say maybe there were 10 people in the team. Then they say, look here, if we want to start something, so the three of us from this particular team, I think we've identified our strengths and weaknesses. If you can form something, so we can be able to work together. And also part of the thing, sometimes when you recruit your team, so when we are employed, so you go and look at people who are gonna be able to assist you in terms of driving this particular strategy. See, those particular KPIs that you need to drive in an organization. So that's where it goes sometimes. People, they go and hire people who are competent, whom they know that they're going to contribute in terms of their strategy, in terms of that. So therefore, look in terms of that. So in terms of teamwork, don't look in terms of teamwork within university, just look in terms of the long term. You want to form a business, who are the people who can come and work for you? They become shareholders, you drive a particular goal. So it's those particular people whom we know for a particular period of 4 years or 5 years. So those are the things that I think you must also consider to say, when we're looking in terms of the teamwork within the university, that's why I say, look in terms of teamwork, in terms of today and tomorrow. So therefore, the benefits that you can get from the team today, those benefits can expand, to the future. So success factors, so we are looking at goals and objectives. We are looking at commitment. So clear roles, delegated power, accountability, recognition, reward, and clear direction. For example, if I can talk about the last point, which is linking to the first one. If you've got the goals, you've got your objectives and the goals. So in order to achieve them, you must have a clear direction. If you don't have a clear direction, you may have the goals, So I don't know how many people have been looking in terms of the growth of China, how China have grown. Look in terms of the goal they set, and look in terms of the clear direction they put forward to say, by this time, we want to achieve 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the end of the day, many of our government, if you're looking in terms of many countries, especially in Africa, they've got good goals, which are there, but at the end of the day, do we have a clear direction? So therefore, in terms of teamwork, you must have the goals, those objectives, and then the thing that needs to happen now, you have a clear direction. How are you going to achieve those goals? If you don't have a clear direction, how are you going to achieve those goals? So you're going to have a problem in terms of that. So you're going to be sitting every year with the goals, not achieved. Years come, we are in year 2, year 5, year 10, year 20. Now we decide just to change those particular goals now, because the goals were good, but the only thing that was lacking, it was the issue of direction, that you didn't have a clear direction. So therefore, if you look in terms of successful team, we are looking at developmental activities in which successful groups engage. So we are establish the ground rules for acceptable behavior. Remember, you need to have ground rules, must be there. Storming conflict over position, power, and status. Remember, we are a team. That's why in a team, you must multitask. If you're having a chairperson for a particular project number 1, for project number 2, you must have a different person. For project number 3, you must have a different person, so that at the end of the day, so what to do, we share the skills. We don't see that, we don't create conflict that one person, you just want to be the chairperson of all those particular projects until you finish, until you complete the studies. Therefore, those are the things that create conflicts amongst team. So try to avoid in terms of particular one. So people, believe me, they would want to be chairperson, they want to be chairperson here. So therefore, try to avoid those particular ones. Just rotate those particular in terms of the task. Okay, norming agreement on shared goals and norms. So those one, it must be agreed. Performing energies channeled towards task performance. Make sure that the purpose of the team is to perform a particular task. You need to perform a particular task. So therefore, channel those particular energies in terms of that. But if you're going to spend 80% of your time solving conflict within the team, it means the team is not gelling. So therefore, we are not going to be able to achieve, we are not going to be a high performing team because we are not spending those energies correctly. We are spending them wrong. I think one of the things that you must also learn as teams are there, the way to manage them and also try to solve those particular problems. So if you look in terms of success sectors, you're looking at common and consistent goal, commitment, support from top management. If, for example, you're having your lecturer, for example, you're having the NSTF here. So I think this particular support that you're getting, there are other students, who are there within your university. They're not getting the same support that NSTF is giving you. So you're having your lecturers, you're having your SRC, you're having different people. Those are the things that you must value in terms of other students, they don't have, those particular supports. Clear responsibility, the clear roles and responsibility, I think I've talked about that. Real and perceived power, delegate what you need to do. That's why I'm saying, in order to deal with the issue of power, just make sure that people, they perform different tasks. They don't perform one task all the time. Mutual accountability, the team is accountable as a collective, but we have got individual accountability actually within the team, which must be there. If I need to do section A myself as a team member, I'm accountable for that. I must be able, if ever I don't do my part, it means the team won't achieve its intended goal. So therefore, as individual, you must be accountable also. Recognition and rewards. So all of us, when you get high marks, that's what we do, end of university. When you get high marks, you graduate. Those are the recognition and rewards. Scholarship, part of the thing that can do. Your team may assist you to get high marks, and you may end up getting scholarship within your undergraduate, and also getting scholarship for masters and PhD. Part of the thing that have happened, myself, I've never paid for my fees. From my first degree up to my PhD, I've never paid fees. So I've been getting good marks. Once you get good marks, scholarships, those bursaries, they are just chasing you around. You're not looking for them. So I think those are the particular things there to do. So they place some value on you to say, look here, this particular person will want to give. Yeah, you find 5 bursaries, they come for you and say, then at the end of the day, you've got university rules that can say, look here, you can only take 1 or 2, then you end up taking in terms of the highest in terms of that. But there's one particular thing, I'm saying the team can assist you. If your team doesn't perform, it may reduce your marks, that it will end up you not achieving overall in terms of higher marks in order to be able to get those particular rewards. Containing the right members. So you need to make sure then teamwork, if you find in a team, they are good members, please retain those particular members. If ever in some other subject, you must have a team for a whole year, Therefore, if you have good members, just make sure that you've got a retaining strategy to say we need to be able to continue. Because remember, this particular team members have got a clear direction, them, you've got agreement on grounds, on standard and ground rules. So all those particular things that need to be there. Sometimes that I've put there in terms of the team success, in terms of proper training. Part of the thing that I always tell my student to say, look here, you may form a team. If there are things that you don't understand, get somebody to train you on that. For example, you come from matric, what do? You come to university, maybe you've never worked in teams. Get a person to tell you the dynamics of teamwork, because remember, part of the, if you're looking the practicals in the engineering science, we work together, we do a lot of practicals, we do a lot of syndicate work in terms of that. So what you need to do, get a person to be able to train you to say, these are the things. It's gonna make a difference, because right now, you may have people who have never worked in a team, you know, at matric or at any particular time, maybe from, what do you call it, from your grade 8 up to grade 12, they've never worked with other people. So what you need to do, get a person to orientate you on those particular things, even before you start your work. I think those are the things that you must also, I always tell the teams myself, when in my work, I form teams for students. I say, look here, have you worked in teams? They say, some, oh, yeah. What work? But I say, look here, maybe you just need to get an orientation, how teams work, and what are the benefits of teams? What are the things that you must avoid? So those are the things I think they're quite important, you know, those things, so that we're able just to, those teams, they become, I mean, high-performing teams. So succeeding with teams, you can look at the benefits, then you've got the difficulties there, the challenges. It doesn't necessarily mean nothing is easy. You know, if you look in terms of benefits, you are looking in terms of the increase in productivity. You can look in terms of better student, better employee morale, quality improvement, greater innovation. You come with innovation because we are having great minds. Like here, yourself, we are having great minds. They've put great minds together. When the great minds, they work together, some they come with different innovation. You know, even something myself, I've learned today on something in the presentation that I've attended. I was there. So I've learned some other things that, you know, so I'm going to take forward to say, these are the things that I need also to look at. So those are the things that you must also look at. Also, change, difficulties, change, resistance. Some other people, they're just difficult, you know, to change. So you need to work on that. So what you need to do, they must tell you to say, those are the things that you must also look at in the teams, you know, before you make a mistake, you think people, all people, they're going to support the particular goal. So therefore, if you see that other people are not supporting those particular goal, so you must be guided to say, how can you bring those particular people just to come together, just to support those goals? So group thinking, agree. So agree with one another. So those, the essence of group work. You might disagree, but later on, what you need to do, you must agree. Other people are difficult. Takes a lot of time to convince some other people. Lack of team support. Some other people, they don't support the team. What they're looking at the marks, they're looking at the benefits. Lack of accountability. If people, as I've said from the beginning, other people, they're given work, they don't do the work. And the hard workers, they end up burning out because they're the one who's gonna take the blame, because they say, no, these particular team members is letting us down. What we need to do, we're gonna do the work because we don't want to achieve. In fact, this particular person will make us not achieve our goal. So therefore, those are the things that you must also look at. So just member involvement is sometimes a lack of just to manage the talkers. Remember, there are people there in the group who talk a lot. Just make sure that, how do you manage those particular people? Those people are a problem. They talk a lot and they do less. So some other time we've got people who are silent, they don't talk. How do you deal with those particular people? You know, they always agree. You can say something is wrong, they agree is wrong. You say something, the same thing you're saying is correct, they're going to agree with you, they say it's correct. So therefore, those are the things that you must manage in terms of dynamics, to say that's why a person is different. What I normally do myself when we form teams, because even now we still have got teams, you know, where we work in different projects. A person need to present, you need to present on your section, you know, so that, you know, we understand in terms, in fact, of the whole project. And later on, we may say one person must take all the views from the different members, what the person does now, he needs to collate just one paragraph presentation now, because we're just doing in terms of different tasks, so that we get other people to say, did you understand what all the different past team members were talking about? If you did, can you just collate something, and then you come to present later on in a week's time or 2 weeks' time in terms of the whole team, So those are the things that you must be able just to deal, just to solve part of the problem in terms of members who are not contributing. So handling conflict, you must have those skills in terms of handling conflict. But at the end of the day, all of you, if you're in a team of 5, therefore all of you must contribute in order to solve those conflict. Avoidance of cliques. So therefore, what you need to do, if you're going to work within teams and then you form cliques, so that one, believe me, is going to create problems. If ever there's a problem with the team, just raise that problem. What I normally do sometimes myself, so I normally advise to say, if you're having a team and you cannot be able to raise the problem, what you do, the chairman of those particular team at that point in time of that project, what you do, you must write messages, anonymous. You can just write it, you type it, you say what's the problem, and then when there's a meeting, everyone just put those complaints there. They give it to the chair, and the chair gonna read those particular challenges. So therefore, nobody knows who have raised a challenge. If ever people sometimes want to avoid those conflict. So why you are trying to do that is not to have cliques now, whereby this cliques now, they're going to talk about the other people who are doing the work. Those people who are not doing the work, they're talking about the other people to say, those people, they think they are better because what. I'm just saying, teamwork, once you do those things, those are the problems that you need to solve. Once a team develop those cliques within it, it means it's no longer a team. So it means it's just a divided house. So those are the things that, you must look at. So as student, as you work, and also in terms, I think you're involved. I think there was a talking, you're involved in different sporting activities. Remember, your life is not about getting the degree. It's also enhancing your life socially. You must involve in sport, involve in different things. So within the university, if there are SRC, there are host committee, those are skills that you must learn. Understand the dynamics of people, understand the problem of people, so that when you get outside the university, so you know exactly that people, there's no one who's difficult like a human being. So therefore, you're going to be able to manage people, and you're going to be able to work with people. If your manager tells you do 1, 2, 3, sometimes you don't take an offense because you understand. That's how people does things. So therefore, many people, they don't involve, especially in terms of the brilliant student who obtain high marks. They don't want to involve in other activities. Then if you don't involve in those activities, learn those skills, those people who get low marks, who are involved, understanding the human behavior, understanding different things, at work, they become your managers, and they become your director, they become your CEO, yourself. Then they instruct you what to do. Develop a policy. The person who was at university was not performing like you, but at the end of the day, due to understanding the environment, all the dynamics, he can be able just to articulate very well, just to be in a senior position. So hence, manage time, prioritize responsibility, set acceptance standard, avoid domination, effective communication, avoid attack on people, avoid silence. Those are the things that as a team, try to talk about, you manage it. Otherwise, if you don't manage those particular things, in terms of time, your priorities, you set the standard, effective communication. If we need to meet at 7, we must meet at 7. Those are the things that as a team, you must develop in order for you just to be able just to have a very effective team. One bigger thing that I'm going to say here in terms of the closing remarks. So you need in life what I've learned, you must be a hard worker, work very hard, study very hard. But there's a second thing that I've learned over years. you also need some little bit of some luck. You know, if you don't have that particular luck, you may be a hard worker, but you won't go places. How do you get the second one? It's through networking. Your team that you have now is your network, you know, is the one they're gonna connect. If that particular team is there, it becomes a solid team within university, that particular team gonna continue. When you continue outside, those people, they become your network, you know. So if ever there are things that you require in life, those are the people, if you ask, you see, I want to go to Cape Town, where can I get cheap accommodation? Those are the people who need to assist you. If I want to apply for a scholarship in America, I want to go to the UK, I want to go to Hong Kong. At the end of the day, what's gonna happen? Those are the people who must assist you. Those are the people who become your network. Otherwise, if you don't have those people, something to get that can take you a week, it's gonna take you a month or even more than that. So therefore, your network that you develop through working in teams, you need to be able to keep that network. Is the one that's gonna open just opportunities for you within the university and also outside the university, actually, when you enter, the workplace. Teams together, everyone, we achieve more. Thank you so much, Chair. So that's my details. So if there's anything specific you want to ask, yes, you can do that thing. We're also connected on Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, so we can talk about. So Chair, I wanted to address a technical issue. Maybe in the future, I can address some more technical things which need to do. But I thought myself, based on my experience, I found those are the things that I remember in one of the students who was a high performer in terms of my student. So he actually got 40% in teamwork. Then the student was really crying because he didn't understand why could he get that faculty. But after explaining to say, these are the things that you're supposed to do before, otherwise your team gonna continue to get, maybe next time they're gonna get less than 40%. So I'm just saying those are the things that you must learn. We give those particular skills so that they become life skills within university and outside. Otherwise, thanks so much, Chair.
Prof. Twala, thank you very much indeed. I mean, you've brought an aspect to light that we hadn't actually planned in, but it is so essential. It is, I remember at school and university, I found it incredibly difficult to work in teams. And I think it happens when you feel that you yourself have some skills, you know, you'll make it, you're fine in yourself. But we really do need to learn in life the ways in which we depend on others, the ways in which we can depend on others, and also how we can give to a group and work with people to achieve the aims. Because it's very, very seldom that someone can make it on their own as an individual out of nowhere. And definitely for the workplace. I mean, my staff will confirm that. We have to be a team the whole time. We have to know what our common goals are and what we're working towards, and not work together, and we should all pull our weight in the tasks that have to be done. And that's typical for the workplace. It is just, it's not always typical for school. It depends on the educational approach. But I think in most of our schools, it's each man or woman for himself. And people don't realize how very important it is to be able to work with a team. You have to make yourself, make a success of your teamwork together with other people. That is a wonderful message. Prof. Twala, thank you very much indeed. Are there any questions?
No, ma'am.
Yes, no. No?
So I can just say something. Yeah. It's just a small thing that I think part of the thing that if you have got a broader goal, I think it was 3 of us when we entered university in terms of academic. So we're still in touch, we're still doing work together now. So we gave us our goal to say what we want to achieve in academics. Part of the thing when I won the award is something that we have said to say we want to develop capacity. Up to now, what I've done, I've graduated 56 PhDs.
Wow.
We've got professors who have retired.
Yeah.
They've not reached 20. But what we did, we have a goal, and then how to achieve that, how to deal with the issue of quality. We sat down in terms of that, how to deal, and where we need a training, we're supposed to get. We ask people to train us on certain aspects so that we understand. I'm just saying it's about planning, you know, to say, I want to plan in 10 years' time, this is what I want to achieve in terms of that. And without my 2 colleagues that I've been working with, I was not going to be where I am right now. So that's, I think, the power of working with other people.
Right.
Yeah.
That is very important. Thank you. Thank you. If there are no other questions, then I'm going to do the quickest summary you've ever heard. Here are some takeaways that are just quotes from the presenters. There is growth in discomfort. Failure is not fatal. Discipline is your friend. Stay true to your beliefs. Balance your academics, body and soul. Do your own takeaway. Capture it in writing. Own your ground rules, your decisions, and your standards. Choices. Explore all the choices you can possibly find and use all the resources to your that you have access to. Find a mentor. Design your routine and the way in which you're going to manage it, the time that you spend every day. Be patient. Learn to negotiate. This is in connection with Prof. Twala's talk. Learn to negotiate. Learn to work towards a collective goal. Learn to share leadership. Learn to say we instead of I. Aim to influence change. I mean, Prof, you presented it as the type of team leadership, that there are some that react to change, others that implement changes, and others that influence change. And I think that's the kind of teams that that our students should be trying to create and to work with. And then look long-term in terms of your networking, the friends you make, the teams you form. I like that expression you gave, that you need a little bit of luck as well, and you can get that through your networking in the end. Okay, I think that is it. The presentations will be on the website, as well as this recording, such as it is. I think it's a bit fragmented, but we will try and put as much as we can. And then you will be sent a short survey just to give us your feedback on this session. Please tell your friends as well, students, that they can go to the website and follow this session afterwards if they weren't able to make it today. Thank you very much to those of you who were able to and willing to stay until the end. I know that you've derived benefit if you've attended the whole thing. And thank you to my staff. Thank you very, very much to our speakers for making the time to be here with us and to share their wisdom, their advice, the experiences that they've gone through and who they are. I really appreciate that enormously. And with that, please have a good rest of the day, and refer back to this advice and remember the advice. Maybe I can just read the chats. Vilna said, thank you for participating. Stay connected to the NSTF and follow our newsletter. Let Itu know if you are not receiving it. People saying thank you very much. The last speaker loved how he encouraged the students to look beyond university and see how they can position themselves in the world of work. Indeed. Indeed. Okay, with that, we've come to the end of today. I certainly enjoyed it very much. I hope you have. And best of luck with the rest of the year to the students. I hope it goes extremely well in your second year. Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.